What's happening, people? Welcome back to another episode of All You Can Eat Warriors. And as I always say, All You Can Eat Warriors. And yeah, man, we got a buffet, a 3-course meal for you tonight. We're going to be going back into the leftovers, what you ate previously. We're going right back to the start. There might be some old food in the back of your fridge that you haven't gotten rid of. Because we're going to go from the very first game of the season, hopefully right through. And with my man, as always, Ash, how you doing, brother? Welcome.
Always good, my bro. Yeah, we're getting that pizza that you left in the fridge for a couple of days and heating up and hoping it tastes just as good as when you just got it. So, actually, a question on that, bro. What's your favorite food to have maybe the night after? What do you reckon? Are you like a sausage man, cold sausage man? Are you like pizza? What do you enjoy?
Pizza, bacon, egg pie, lasagna, all those things. Anything that you eat hot the night of, and it's good, but it's not good enough. Like you have to let those things marinate overnight. So yeah, I like pizza too. Pizza's just as good too. The KFC was a classic, man. Leftover KFC. Can't beat it.
It is a banger, bro. The eyes light up when you see the red box in your the eyes light up when you see the red box in the fridge, my bro. You're like, oh yeah, we on right now, my bro. Yeah, it'd have to be that or pizza, my man. I think that's where it's at. But all is good over in Australia, bro. It's starting to warm up a little bit. Summertime's coming, so you don't have to hear an Aussie bloke complain about how cold it's getting when you guys are dealing with twice as cold as what you got going on over there. So yeah, I'm all good, bro. I'm all good.
Great, man. Hey. Yeah, so it's great guys to have you in here. Just want to do a quick shout out. Luke Adams has become a YouTube friend. We appreciate you, Luke. Luke has jumped in the Discord as well, guys. So we're starting to build that up. But no, welcome in, Luke. Great to have you, man. Jose, Jacko, yes sir. GT, yes, hungry. Let's go. Tony Dub, channel member. Great to have you, sir. Cold pizza, yeah.
Is the go.
Leftover KFC and a toasty with some cheese and leftover potato. Oh, mate. Jose.
This man knows. He knows.
He knows his stuff is going. Anyway, man, so we had a good night last night with all our channel members, Ash. It was great to hang out. My first time doing the members only. It was real cool. I'm just going to quick fire with you now, actually, some of the topics we covered. As one of the first ones, actually, is Upy Nichols. The first NRLW signing for the Warriors as we re-enter the competition in 2025. Mate, what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, great first signing. Obviously, was part of the inaugural Warriors side when they first came into competition. So it's good to have that, early iteration of that Warriors side come back into the Warriors side. And the one thing I know of my Mrs. Cousin Vani and how that first Warriors side went about, she loved that. It was like all about culture, and it brought out all the culture of the girls, whether you're Aussie, whether you're Samoan, whether you're Tongan, Fijian. They had like all their big cultural nights, and to have like a leader like Upy Nichols come back to the Warriors, bring back that culture as well. Also, really good fullback in the league, obviously in a somewhat struggling Raiders side at the moment, inaugural Raiders side she's with. But, she's been really, really solid for them. A decent fullback that covers all week. And I'm really excited. Just again, it's just experience, bro. Really good experience to have there when there's a lot of rumors that all these rugby sevens girls from the Kiwis rugby sevens coming over. That's all the rumors around the New South Wales W women. So really excited for that one coming next year. Let's go.
Yeah, that's great. Just quickly a comment here from Ron Griffiths. We have been calculating. I went so to go up to the start. He says the 31-year-old says she is a little bit older, but comes with a lot of experience. Obviously, Uppy was a crucial
Yeah.
signing for us, as she embodies the character of person we want at the Warriors. She's a Warrior.
Exactly.
When we meet her, we made it clear that we wanted to bring her home. That's awesome. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
it's important that we recruit who's available from NRLW. I spoke to someone that they are trying to recruit sevens as well, but you can't rely on that. So you do have to be smart with your recruitment. If you can get ones like Uppy home, even maybe Wiki, the Raiders, they'd be smart about it. I know a lot of teams have signed them up long term. But if you can, I'm thinking get the ones home that want to come. Georgia Hale, would you be a Georgia Hale advocate?
Bro, I want Georgia Hale to come home. She's an incredible player, like one of the best, probably if not the best 13 in the competition. It's her, Kennedy Charrington, up in those sort of names up there for the NRLW. But I was speaking to Varney about that, and I don't think there's a really good opportunity for Georgia. I think Georgia's pretty settled in Goldie in that at the moment over in Queensland. But maybe we can pull on the heartstrings a little bit. We all know that she loves the Waz, bro. She loves the Waz, so maybe she can come home. Other names, you got Albert Jones. That's Stacey Jones' niece, I'm pretty sure, or it's a family relation. We could probably bring her home. She's part of the night squad as well, so there's a couple of girls like that could come over with the coach, which I'm excited for. But 100%, bro. If there was any name that I could just pick out, that's it. Like Georgia Hale would be the first one I'd put a captain on, and she would start off the series. But either way, Upy Nichols is incredible, and I think she's going to be incredible for our first little big signing there.
What's the size of the squads for NRLW? Is it 30 man as well, or is it something?
Off the top of my head, I'm not too sure, bro. I would say that it would be around about the same. Like you obviously got your fringe girls that all hang around about, and then you got your obviously top 18 that play, and then you got your 19, 20 man stuff like that. It's all fairly similar. So I would say it'd probably be top 30. I would say.
Yeah, top 30. Just quickly from Jose here, Ash, who are you cheering for in the finals, man?
Yeah, it sucks, man. I don't really want to cheer for too many other, but I got a good mate that's obviously a Bulldogs fan, so I'll probably jump on that a little bit. Like, I hope he gets to get the chockies as well. But to be honest, I'm just watching that from afar, and I enjoy every other team in the competition, but I just don't love them as much as I love the Waz. So next year we'll be there, boy.
Yeah, absolutely. Next year, okay. I think there'll be a good chat. We'll figure it out as we do.
Who are you going for, Levon, my man? Who are you going for? What do you reckon?
Well, I just want to go. I don't want to go for the Storm, but I want Jerome Hughes to do well. Like, I just think if I'm a Kiwi, I think of any of the Kiwi boys that are in the finals. So Fish, I don't mind. If he wins 4, it's weird. Like the Panthers are like the only dominant team that I don't mind them. I felt like they had cheated their way to, like with the Storms, whenever they have had a dynasty, it always felt like a bit
like cheap.
Cheap, yeah. Whereas I think the Panthers have been genuinely the best team. A dark horse would be, the Doggies would be a great story, but after the last 2 weeks, you're thinking,
I know.
Maybe Cowboys if they go on a long run.
Well, that's my other team, bro, that I'm looking at going like, I'll enjoy to see them get up there, but I just can't see anyone competing with Melbourne or Penrith really when it comes to the big ones. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I know the boys at ET probably talking up their Sharkies against the Storm.
I know how you feel about the Sharkies, bro. So
it's funny. I did creep into the old ET Stamp post show of after the Warriors game. Oh, mate, they just livid, eh? They were just livid at the referee.
It's good fun.
I said, welcome to our world. Welcome to our world, mate.
Welcome.
Cool, man. Let's move on quickly. And more Warriors news, mate. Aaron Clark has returned
big one.
Official on a 3-year deal ending in 2027. Talk to me, man. What's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think he summed it up really, really good. In last night's show, I watched a bit of pieces of it, when I got the chance. So, bro, like, it's an incredible little signing. Obviously younger than Jazzy Tavanga. Everyone's making the tie that he is like a Jazzy Tavanga type, but like he's got his upside as well. Like, he probably plays hooker at a higher click than Jazzy Tavanga. So we have an opportunity as another utility there too that could fill in if anything does go wrong. Maybe there is an opportunity where we can carry, we don't have to carry another hooker on the bench or something like that, even though I feel like Freddie Lussick's done fairly well for us this year too. But you know what I mean? It can mix and match our bench a little bit, or our 13 rotation can really spice things up now. Like, we don't have to have have just Tohu and Dylan Walker, we go Tohu and Aaron Clark, or he could also play as a small front forward as well, because I do believe the best times I've seen the Titans this year has actually been with a starting pack of Aaron Clark, Randall, and they got another small bloke in there. I think it was Khalees Harsell's playing 13. I do feel like that was their best sort of combination they actually had defensively. So I'm excited for all the key pieces. Offloading, he's fairly good at. He's good foot speed for the middle. His tackle tech's always on point. That's the one thing I think we would miss with Jazzy leaving, and I think that he's got that in him as well. So I don't think we lose a ton. I think we gain a little bit as well. Like, we got a little bit of a guy that used to be with us. He's got Warriors heart. He's come home. Hopefully it ends up being a banger. But I love that stat side that you end up finding with all that sort of stuff too, my bro. Yeah. Incredible.
Have you used it before?
No, I couldn't find it. I was like, wow, where'd you find this?
Have a play around with it. I think it's a betting kind of webpage, but it's got a lot of, like, you can compare and pull up numbers. I just thought, I was like, what the heck's this? And I had a little play around with it. I think it's legit. So yeah, we could probably use that a bit as well. Just for me personally, I like it. I think the 5 years he's had at the Titans has built like a good resume. Like, I don't think there's been any off field. Like, I'm not sure, maybe there has. But sounds like just a solid signing, and like, just based on what I've, from a numbers perspective, and maybe you've seen more of him play and what he's like, it is an uptick in terms of, I think just
like
even
skill, potential, that sort of thing. But also, the versatility, like, he's just got that added little bit more versatility, I believe. I think that it's been a very positive move for all the fans. Like, I think all the fans have taken it very positive. I have seen a couple of negative ones there too, but you can't make everyone happy with certain moves. And I do think this is a right move in the right direction. I think he works hard. Titans fans love and adore him. So that kind of shows the type of player we are going to get over to the Warriors. Like, I know a lot of Titans fans that do, they're pretty sad to let him go. So just shows really how good of a player he actually is.
No, absolutely. Look forward to seeing some preseason footage of him, obviously, training with the boys. It's kind of a refreshing new area. We really are moving into the Webby era, Webby, Cappy, Cam George era, where the recruits are really falling into line with what they want to try and achieve. So
exactly.
Starting to look at it. Barnett, Simon Mannering Award.
Well deserved.
What's your take? Yeah, well deserved in your opinion. We talked about it a lot. What's your take on it?
Yeah, incredible, bro. I couldn't see anyone else get there, and hopefully he ends up finding him spot in a Daily M middle of the year as well, a Daily M property year as well, because I do believe he should be up there for it. Me and Brody were running the stats and stuff, and even just thinking of just the storyline of the season as well with someone like Barnett. I do believe Barnett should be one of the front runners for that position, but well deserved to get a Simon Mannering medal. I do believe he's become a leader of the club this year in one of our poorer years again. Obviously a very poor year comparatively to last year, but he was one of our shining lights this year. I think we all do agree that he has not dropped anything this year. If not, I do think that he's probably gotten better since last year, and he's one of those ones that when Webby first came to the club, I feel like the whole the club elevated. This year it felt like it was a lot of people were in limbo a little bit, but he elevated again, so that's a positive sign for the coaching in his future, and I think it's a well-deserved Simon Mannering medal, and he'll always be one of our better ones at the moment. So yeah, I can't wait for next year with him and Fish.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's really exciting. Hey, NRL Player of the Year, Adam Fanua-Blake. I thought that was well deserved too. I know Adam's had his issues, and we've documented that, but I thought deserved based on his performances individually. What do you make of that? You agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. As an individual player, bro, statistically, he's been incredible this year. Even in moments like you can't fault the guy's effort out there when he touches the white line, that sort of stuff. I do feel like the leadership was a little thing he lacked a little bit this year, but then again, he did everything he needed to as a club. He's still leading our run meters, doing all the big stuff Adam Fanua-Blake knows how to do. And I know that whatever team that he's going to the Sharkies next year. I know a lot of players when they come up and goes Adam Fanua-Blake, he's definitely the first name you circle on the list to be like he's going to be a tough ask every week. So that's really where it comes down to. Incredible player, and always he would honestly probably go down as one of our best props that we've ever had, right? You have to agree?
Yeah, I think you probably would. You add in the making it to a finals because consistency, stack his numbers up against the others. I mean, he might not have done as much as Ben Matalina, probably one that did sorry, brother.
No, yeah, we got like Wiki, Ben Martellino, Steve
Martellino
Price,
from
like
Martellino from like a stats numbers wise. I think Martellino did like ridiculous, like in terms of he's up there in terms of number of games. Probably
yeah.
even his yardage, his things would be up there. Not, probably not to the level of AFB, but freaking Ben. Just quickly on Ben, but one of the most
Forgotten man, eh?
Most potential you've probably seen in the front row. Didn't quite like really get there.
Well, maybe I think he moved too early, bro. He went to the Tigers and it fell apart. But like, bro, he was a part of that. Like, Russell Packer, Ben Martellino, all those boys going to the Tigers, and look what happened. But in the era of Jesse Bromwich becoming like one of the best props in the league at that time, Ben Martellino just before that, I think was widely known as probably a top 3 prop, and maybe if not, some people were regarding him the best prop in the game at one stage. So people do forget his name, right?
Ben was, anyone that knows Ben was a beast, and I'm talking from numbers, but he could get yardage with ease. Offload, he's a big body, and that's why I'm saying if you kind of adding into that mix of the guy that was numbers wise was just a beast, he probably fit in that range with Ben, and maybe he might beat Ben. But in terms of impact on the actual club, like people saying Steve Price, Wiki, those are the guys that probably you do like give them a bit more credence. But we'll give it some time and we'll break it down, and AFB might be in the top. We don't know because so just something to think about. But
100%, bro.
Yeah.
So shout out to Ads, man, incredible. We got the award players player and all that, and I think like obviously this year was a little bit of a sour one. Like he still performed really well, but throughout his whole like tenure at the club, I feel like he was one of our best. He's probably if not our best player in that period, right? We had obviously Roger with Daly M, and then he left, and it was all Adam Fidel Blake for me, and he stepped up. And I know we had poor years that year, but he was definitely one piece that we could go, well, we have one of the best props in the competition. You know what I mean? Like it was one of those sort of things. So he was incredible for us, and shout out to Ads, and hopefully he goes on to kill it at the Sharkies as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Greg, welcome in from South Taranaki, man. Great to have you. It's great to have everyone in from different parts of the country. Actually, just while we're in here, can you just, if you are, because I've talked to you guys a lot, but I haven't actually asked where you guys are living. If you guys are where you're coming from, because it'd be great to hear what you think. Just quickly, OG Thunder. Yeah, check in the chat where you're from, guys. It'd be great to hear. AFB Price, bench, Wiki, Martellino. Yeah. So that would, I mean, yeah. He's got a good point there. Kerry. Wow. Where's Kerry? Ash, you know where that is?
No clue, my brother. Oblivious. I need to come.
We'll show you all the spots. We'll stay at Tony's house. It's beautiful up there, up in the far
Shout out Tony.
Whanganui, wow. Jacko, yep, down in the Whanganui. I've been there a few times. Wanganui, as they say. Gizzy, working Waitaki. Oh, yeah, beautiful. T-Mac. Watching from Sydney. Killer, as always. Yes.
Killer. Sydney, man.
Into maybe Australia, but moved to NZ. But moved from NZ. Oh, yeah, cool.
Small town, you, my bro.
Oh, bro. Everyone's a small town called Auckland, but originally from Whangarei, if I'm correct. Here. Yes.
Ooh, the Winterless North.
Man, all these people from up north. Porirua. Was
GT.
Living a
Brizzy, baby.
GT. Brizzy.
Bris Vegas, baby.
Vegas. Love it. Man. That's so cool. Like, once you add it all in. King Country. Kingy. Man. Yeah, bro. You got to come to New Zealand, bro. You got to, in fact, all the places that everyone said here. So you got to start at Kitty. So you go up the top, work your way down to South Taranaki. You go Whanganui, go see Jacko, go over the other side to Brisbane, T Mackey's from, and come back up to Pukekohe. Then you go back up to the Winterless North. And then you can go back to Brisbane with GT. I'll go west. Oh, country, yeah, bro. Oh, you gotta make a trip one day. You really
hey, bro. I'd love to, man. Hopefully, yeah, me and the missus are planning for next year. Like, she was actually trying to make a surprise one that Levon knows about. Levon was in the little planning for getting me over for a surprise trip this year. But after the year that we kind of had, it'd be good to go see us next year. And hopefully it's a better year next year and I can get amongst it. But I can't wait, bro. Like, I'm really excited to come over. And, who knows? If anything happens in the future, I might live in New Zealand. Who knows?
Kelly from the Tron. Hey, Kelly. I'm in the Tron as well. Auckland as well, Tars. Send us a steak and cheese. I know you're dying for one, Killer. I know you're dying for one over there. Okay, man. Let's go with. I just thought the other one was Moala Graham Tolfa, New South Wales Cup. Really good.
Unreal.
Yeah, unreal, man. I thought that was really good. Hey, Ty and Sons, if you guys want to jump on, jump on maybe in 10 minutes if you guys want to. You don't have to. I'm not forcing you, but come on if you want. We're going to get into that breakdown soon. Only if you want to, guys. For sure. What do you make of Graham? He actually got the players player and the actual Cup player of the year. What's your read on that?
Yeah, unreal. Like, I think he was a player that he always had sort of potential, but he really stepped up. Out of all the players that I thought were going to debut this year, I didn't think we were going to see Graham Telfar for a little bit. I know that I think you had a keen eye for him in the trials and that. You've seen a lot of positives out of it. But when I saw a lot of the other pieces that we had, I would have thought that he would probably be behind the pecking order a little bit. But he found his way into first grade for a reason. His hard work, his tackle breakability. I would say, we probably saw it in that final series that we'll probably touch on a little bit later on, the New South Wales Cup final, that he didn't have his greatest performance in that one either. Errors are kind of crept into his game. But for the majority of the season, he kind of kept that down to a minimum. And it really won him a first grade spot. So it kind of shows the potential that he has. He's definitely got things to learn, but he's still a young piece that we have. And big body, moves well, and really good center that we have for the future, bro. So well deserved, man. I do think that if we're looking at other names like, Tainchu Pikis and stuff like that, but I think he's the most consistent player we have in Cup. Like, he's played majority of the year there too. So I think that well deserved for sure. He'd be up there in the names for me.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just thought it was interesting that he got both, which is kind of a credit to,
it's a big credit.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, man. Let's move on to the last kind of topic before we get into preseason. New South Wales Cup boys lose to the Panthers. I watched the highlights. Credit to Warriors Anonymous. Great work as always, Gerard.
Unreal work.
Top notch. Work. But you obviously saw the game. What was your take on it? What was the vibe?
Yeah, so I didn't get to watch it fully live, but I ended up coming into halftime and then having to watch it back over after. But me and a couple of these the Warrior Holic and all that, we were just messaging about it, and we were down 8-0 at halftime against a Panthers squad that's actually a fairly decent squad, I do believe, in my opinion. Like, you think of fullback Isaiah Aongi, that's going to be going to the Parramatta Eels. He's a Penrith junior that they have coming up. He's incredible. Asu Gaboa, he's actually the ex-Tigers centre winger, second rower that the Tigers had for a period. He's over at the Panthers now, so he's an NRL quality player. Tyrone Peachy, Casey McLean, Jesse McLean, Dane Laurie, Sonny Luke. Like, it's a very, very solid side. Luke Summerton, Matt Eisenhoof, Maverick Geyer, like, these are all guys that have touched first grade. So with our boys, I did expect a little bit more out of us, to be honest. I thought that we were a little bit flat in that game. We looked a little bit flat. Errors started coming to our game. We end up bringing it back after halftime, scoring 2 tries. Ali Leotoa made it, I think it was an 8-6 scoreline at that point, 8-12. And then the Panthers got back on the gas pedal, and it was a little bit of refereeing decisions that was like, but New South Wales Cup referees, they're always like, they're not the greatest. But yeah, bro, I kind of expected more from players like Tainchu Pikis in that, more so, coming back, this is his final series here. He didn't really take a step up a little bit, but our halves pairing of Paulie Roach and Luke Hansen probably didn't perform at their best ability either. Other than that, I felt like, for me, Ali Leotoa looked really, really good. I actually thought Ed Gossie didn't look too bad either. He's actually been not too bad for the later games in Cup lately. So overall, sad that we lost. I do think that we have more ability than that, but against a Panthers squad that had a ton of NRL talent in there that did really, really well. I give it to our boys. Had a good season. As I keep going back to, it's been our first and second best season ever in Cup. I think the only Cup year that ever competed with that is 2017, and that was a solo year out of nowhere. Everything else has been subpar. So these are 2 best years we ever had in Cup, and shows our system is slowly working and really getting all the development boys up to a good standard.
Yeah, I agree, man. The thing with these, you got to always understand with these reserve grade competitions is they're compromised. Like
Oh yeah,
Dane Laurie and that they shouldn't be playing in that. Sonny Lee, but no, I'm just talking from like
it's right. Yeah.
It's it's a comp that you get different players every week. I know people do invest in like they want to win that comp, and I think it's important too. But just as important is like the players developing, and I think like you're saying, we're seeing that, and the guys that are coming in, like they're not looking out of place because the system's similar, like the same. So when your layer towers and your MGTs come up, they're looking solid. That's the whole purpose of it, is to make it one unified thing. So I think that's awesome, bro.
And touching on like a couple of other pieces, bro, like, looking at the Jacob Labens looked like, fairly strong in that game. Lek Aldasima in contact, like we just tell that these boys are going to be on a different level sort of thing. Tom Arle wasn't too bad. Tennisdale Smith is someone that's kind of like, at the moment, I want to see more out of him in Cup. Like fitness-wise, he hasn't hit that level again that he was previously. And I do think, I remember, I'm pretty sure that it was in the Kiwi A squad or whatever that he ended up picking up an injury coming to the season. But he ended up playing the first week of New South Wales Cup. So I might be dreaming those sort of things. But I feel like fitness has been his biggest thing this year. Zion Ma'u is another one that I don't think he's hit that form that we wanted to see just yet again back in Cup, that he'll probably have to, find back again to get back in that, those big top 30 discussions of becoming like a bench prop sort of interchange. But overall, I thought it was an okay performance. It wasn't our best performance for sure against a really tough Penrith squad, but definitely like, our shining stars that we all like and we all love, they're still having really good performances. Like Jacob Laban scored a try and Ali Leotoa scored a try as well. So, Tane Tuapiki 2 from 2 conversions. They all had moments. So that's the biggest thing to watch out for. Our development pieces are coming together a bit.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Just quickly here, I know he's moved to centre, but MGT could be a wing option. Just a quick yes or no on that one.
Possible. I prefer him as a centre. He's a bigger body. He reminds me of a lot of like Ed Gossi on the wing at the moment. Like he's put on a little bit more pounds than what we saw in the preseason. So what's your thoughts, sir?
Same. I think he's just not like heavier footed. Like a solid centre, but not the kind of fleet-footed we might need on the wing.
Yeah, but I think we got other winger options there too, like Setu. We got Cielo Galis that wait and get back off injury. We still got Roger Torvasashek and Dallin, even though Marcelo looks like he may be hunting at the Tigers, who knows? But we still got other winger options that are, I would say, better than having MGT on the wing.
Joel Taula, do you think Webby needs to take a big look at our tech this off-season, depending on who our halves are? We seem to struggle a lot this year with our tech. We're going to actually go through the whole games. I think we might find a story or an arc or from that. But just off the top, the main thing for me is defense.
For me, that's it.
But if you can tweak it, it's actually funny. I was listening to Madge, right? And Madge, with his interview with Andrew Johns, and Madge was talking about his time with Bellamy. And Bellamy was away for some tour with Ricky Stewart over with the Kangaroos, and then Madge was running preseason. Him and Maddie was saying, look, we're playing a bit deep here. Do you think if we play at the ad line a bit, we might get a bit more success? So they made some adjustments, and and then Bellamy came back and he saw the footage, and he's like, what the hell is this crap? And then what Madge and that did is they explained it to Bellamy, like, now look, see, you can tell the difference from this shape to this shape. And then what Bellamy did was like, oh, no, you're right. Okay, we're going to change it. So I think it might be something like that. It could be little tweaks here and there. But the best thing for Webby is either, I think stick to his principles, stick to his guns, but be open to your assistants if they say, can you see this, Webby? We just tried this little thing. Then he might be open to it. What's your thoughts?
See, I do think that he's been fairly flexible. Like, you've watched the tape a lot too. Like, when we gone from, Sean Johnson's attacking sets look different to Tamati Martin's attacking sets, if that makes sense. Like, and there's even stats to back that up. Like, if to add to that, like, when we look at our halves next year, I keep bringing up the stats, but like, we got to look at the period that we had Tamati Martin at 7. Like, we went 5 from 8 in that period. We knocked off the Panthers, the Dolphins, the Cowboys. Like, these all, like, they're all top 8 sides. We were, I think it was a big conversation point that the Dogs have only beaten a top 8 side 4 times this year. We're the same. We've beaten 4 top 8 sides this year as well. Like, we're a part of that too. So for me, like, our attack actually becomes a top 5 attack when Tamati Martin's in that attacking position. Our shape runs a little bit better, and defensively we become a little bit better there too. So I do believe there's like positives to when we do run, maybe halves pairing that has, obviously this year SJ was a limited injury, stuff like that. But I do think that we ran a little bit different when we had Tamati Martin there. I felt like our left side opened up a lot more too, just depending on our half pairing and stuff. So I think where Webby comes from attack, I do believe that is a lot of input from the players as well. So I think it's a bit of both. But I believe we're going to be all right.
That's a great point. He actually has been accommodating for change. If you really look at it, based on his personality he has. So actually, he's already taken that into effect. So it's not about him changing. It's about finding the right balance, right? He's had probably 4 different halves pairings, and he's had to try and find the balance with each of them. Like we said, Tamati's very left dominant. Sean always naturally right
very
dominant.
Right dominant.
So he's had to try and figure that, and he's got another challenge with
Metcalf
as well. So. Yep. Actually going back on that point, he has been accommodating. He has been adjusting.
Yeah, like he has an overarching system, bro. So the overarching system is when you get to like your end of your sets and stuff like that, it's obviously we want to preferably it's a very simplistic rugby league like system. You got the kick to the corner, defend from the corner, umbrella defense, and then our defensive sets. They're all systematic. But within those sets that we do run and we do play, there is differences to when we have Sean Johnson playing at the 7 and Tamati Martin playing at the 7. And I think they were fairly noticeable this year. And like I think Webby, when he comes down to sitting to our attacking sets, and you hear him in interviews too, where he says that he runs through our videos and he tells the boys what we do well, what we don't do. And I think he accommodates between the two. So like, as we just touched on, Tamati Martin, we're very left dominant. Sean Johnson, we're very right dominant. I do think we play a lot more flat football when we have Tamati Martin at the 7. When we play a lot deeper when we have Sean Johnson at the 7. I do believe it's just difference between the halves and their play calling in the run. Shawnee's got the open rein in that last game of the Sharkies where he called that 3-set play to end up, winning that last one. Tamati Martin's going to have a different call to what he has there too, right? So I think that's the differences, bro. And like, for that question, just get excited because like that little period that we have with Tamati Martin there was a very positive period in our season. As I do said, like we were attacking at 27 points per game click. That's upwards of like a top 5 attack in the comp. And we're defending at under sub 20 per game. We're holding out teams under 20 points per game. We're only losing by a try, and that only came down to conversions, right? Like, we went through that. So it was a very positive period in our season for me. But we'll go through that too.
Yeah, great point. Guys, can I get you, there's 43 of you in here. Can you give us a like? Can we hit that 40 likes? Just quickly go down to the left part of your screen, press that thumb or wherever you're watching. We appreciate you guys coming in. Rugby league history. I want to get to your comment at some point, but we're going to get into our preseason. But it's a good comment, man. Okay, let's start this off. So we're going to go through every game. We're going to kind of summarize it small. I'm going to actually read out the team list because I think it's important to gather who played, who didn't, gather a summary of what that game was about. And then we're going to try and start to piece together how this season went. So bear with us, guys. We might not hit everyone in the comments as we're moving back and forth. But feel free to comment in on your thoughts on each game. I just want to go quickly back to probably pre-season. Even us. I remember we did our predictions for. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, bro. Oh no.
If you guys want to go, I haven't watched it. But I'm too scared to go watch. We said Dallin would reach his 27 try total.
Oh, bro, Hal is not wrong. Hey, shout out to Taula. I'm pretty sure he's still top 5 or top 10 in the competition for tries this year. Coming from a year that we barely used our right side properly, like it's incredible. He is he's 11th, just outside of that, but he still beat out Xavier Savage, Sione Katoa, Hamiso, Reece Walsh. So like out of a year that we didn't attack very well down that right-hand side, he still ended up with 15 tries out of 22 games. So fairly good click.
Yeah. Super chats, Tony. I think the super chats should be on, man. We've been operating super chats. I don't think there's been an issue.
Should be.
Let us know, man, if there is. But I think you should be able to find it there still. Yeah, man. And even my preseason prediction. I mean, I did my TikTok video saying that we were gonna do super chat's still there, man. Tony. Not trying to force you, bro, but you just asked, so I just give me your money, man.
Give me your money.
But yeah, I said I know Webby should maintain. Sean and the like shouldn't have a drop off, and we understand that for various reasons. But I thought we'd sit around 6. I didn't think we'd stay top 4. I just thought we wouldn't be able to get in that range. But I thought maybe 6th or 7th, like kind of that was my range. But yeah, just
I jumped into the hype.
Yeah. No, we will, and it's not to. I think probably everyone in the chat, in their own way, did. You know what I mean? So it's kind of helping us better understand what our feelings were going into the season and why that was.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I suppose for you, how did you feel? Yeah, just quickly again, how did you feel going into the season, and what was the kind of in your head, at least, the validation for that feeling? Was it that was it that finals run, or was it the overall season that was 2023?
Yeah, 100%. Quickly, shout out Tony, $10 for the super chat, baby. Get you on there. There we go.
Thank you, boy. Thank you, Tony. But yeah, appreciate that, man.
Appreciate you, bro. Appreciate ya. No, but yeah, bro, like, coming into the preseason, fairly confident because, number one, like I was happy to see us pick up a win in the final series. Other teams in this competition, like the Sharkies, are still yet to pick up a win under Craig Flanagan's, tutelage in the final series. So that was really good at the end of last year. Obviously, we added pieces like Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, Kurt Capewell, and all that sort of stuff. So looking at that, rosy-colored glasses, we looked at our preseason form, obviously got beat by the Tigers in the first week, but we ran a very, it was a lot of our development players in that first week too, and there's a lot of things going on there. The Dolphins' performance was the first time where I looked at it and went, all right, so I felt like we actually elevated our game plan from last year to this year, defensively especially. And then, rolling through that, just seeing the pieces like I saw Roger get a lot of nice, clean ball with a little bit of space and hoping that was going to elevate his game in that center position later on. There was a lot of key things that we're touching on. Webby's really top 4 year last year. Who was it to say? I think I was getting swept around. A lot of people obviously coming out saying we're going to be the team to fall off, which ended up becoming all right. But, one of those ones too. I was also like, have you not seen our preseason? Do you not see the players that we are bringing in? We're bleeding into. So that's really the hype that I saw. And really, it kind of just topped it off, obviously, with that preseason win over the Dolphins, and to see how we played our football in that game there. It was and then even when we touch on the first game of the season and the first how many games of the season, I still thought, I looked at it and went, that's going to win us so many games this year if we play this out and play the way we're supposed to there, because that looked like that Panthers brand type football. It was dominant. It was physical. I know we lost those first couple of games of the season, but the Penrith Panthers have done that before too, but still looking dominant and very physical during the game. And we'll touch on that a little bit when we go for the stats, but that was my feeling, bro. That was why I kind of was top 4 looks good. That's kind of where I was sitting at it.
Hey, Tans, just might need to connect your audio and mic, or I'm not sure. Otherwise, log back in and out. Hey, just want to welcome in my man, Fanatics, brother. How are you doing, man? Are you not coming up? Sorry, man. There we go,
Okay.
bro. Hey, welcome, man. How you doing, bro? You been good?
Yeah, I'm doing great. So good to be good to be back on your channel. Hey there, Ash. How you doing? How's everyone doing? And yeah, I'm sure we'll chat about the season, but yeah, it's good to be on.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for coming on. And like for this, I think it's great as us content creators just to get on and share our views of things. Like, I don't think anyone's right or anyone's wrong. I think it's good to have your view. Tans will maybe pop in as well. We'll get her view. But we're just going to go through every game of the season and just get a little insight from each game and get your input. But just quickly before we get into that, what was your feeling going into preseason? Were you like hyped up, like we're gonna win the comp, or were you like, oh, we might finish in the top 8, or oh, well, no, we're not gonna have a good year? Where were you at that time before the start of the season?
Look, I was the same like you guys and a lot of Warriors fans. I was super excited for the season ahead because I felt like from what we did last year, I thought we didn't lose too many players during the off season.
Yep.
And we also bought an RTS, and I thought RTS was going to be a good inclusion. Albeit he's playing the centers. But yeah, I had massive excitement going through the season. I just thought that the feeling of what we did in 2023 will come into 2024 and bring that sort of same energy and same hype. But yeah, look, the season, I felt like the season as a whole, it was really, a real change up to what it was last year. But yeah, I was really excited going into this year, of course, because I felt like, we had the players to do it. I thought my predictions, I had us in top 4. I thought we'd be in top 4 at the start of the year, and unfortunately, we just missed the 8 this year, and it's just, I felt like it wasn't good enough at the end of the day because I felt we had the squad to do it. But yeah, there was plenty of excitement, but it's fortunate, be let down by this year's form and where we finish.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Tansy. I'm not sure. It's just not letting you in. You keep trying. I'm not sure why. We just can't get you in. Yeah, the mic and camera. But anyway, it's still there, Tans. If you figure it out, jump in. Okay, let's start at the top of the season, guys. I'm going to go through each game. I'll just ask you guys your little thoughts on it. But let's get who was in these games and kind of. So the first game obviously was 16-12 to the Sharks at home. AFB and Luke Metcalf scored early. And Sean Johnson was on the boot that day, kicked both. I think it's important to bring up conversions, who's been kicking at different times, because it kind of didn't become a big thing until it became a big thing. Yeah. And then 3 tries to the Sharks. Ramian, 34th minute, Taula, and CLC for Talakai in the 57th minute. So the starting fullback was Tane. At the back, Dallin, Rocco, Roger left centre, I think. At that time, Marcelo, Luke and Sean. Normal AFB, Egan, Mitch Barnett, Jackson Ford, Kurt Catewell on the right. And Tohu starting. Bench of Freddie Lussick, Tom Ale, and Bunty, and Dylan Walker. Hey, welcome in, my man, Ty. How you doing, brother?
What's going on, brother?
Kia ora, kia ora.
Welcome in, my man. We're just going to start at the first game. And I'm just going to get your thoughts, bro, on just a quick summary of like, and what you guys thought of that game, and maybe key things that stood out to you. So that was that game. I'll start with Ash. Anything that stood out for you from that game? Like, what was the key takeaways from that first game at home against the Sharks?
Yeah. From memory, bro, we started dominant like early. Like we honestly, the Sharkies looked like they were probably another game away from figuring out their attack. Like their attacking system wasn't really clicking. There was a lot of errors in that game, and we were like early on striking on those moments. Obviously Luke Metcalf going over, doing the old phone emoji sort of thing too. Like he was on fire to start the season there. Adam Fanor-Blake crashing over first of all too, and we're just like, here we go. This is where we're looking at. Like we looked at preseason, then we looked at this, and we're like, all right, now we're starting to see it. Then from memory, there seemed to be like the Sharkies started to wrestle it back. I felt the Sharkies found their resilience in this game, and they've ended up being a top 3 defensive team in the competition this year. So it makes sort of sense. Like they were able to hold us out for before that halftime. They struck before halftime. Those are usually the most important times in rugby league is before halftime, after halftime. It's usually your momentum moments, right? So they struck before that. But the summary, later on in that game, I felt like, again, we were really dominant. We held the ball for more of the period. We had all the opportunities. We bombed probably about 3 or 4 tries to even come home with that victory there where we end up losing. And then looking at the stats of it too, at the end of the day, we dominated the run meters, post-contact meters, every area but the scoreboard. And I think that was the first one where all our fans has just gone, okay, we lost, but there's something there. And we know there's something there. But that was the feeling for me.
Just any of you two, just feel free to jump in where you want to. Any thoughts on this game, like reflecting on it? Key takeaways, things that might have stood out to you. If not, all good.
I got the shortest review ever. I can't remember much.
All good. We'll bring you in at round 24.
Yeah, thanks. But I would like to say what I do remember, and I think you were touching on this before, Ash, it's just that I think preseason and the start of the season, obviously we got up over the Dolphins and didn't get our cookies against the Sharks, but kind of felt like, oh, it's there, it's kind of there. We can see some stuff. Yeah. And I feel like we just kept saying that for a while throughout the season. So that's all I can remember was this feeling of we didn't get it all. We weren't the best on the day, but I felt like there were some moments that hopefully as the season goes on we'll get better. So yeah, that's all I can remember.
Yep. Yeah. Fanatics, anything from you?
Look, all I remembered of that game was it was just the fact that we started so well, and I know from just. Don't want to exactly repeat what I said here, but we did dominate the stats early, and I felt like maybe we just didn't take our opportunities, and we let the Sharks back in it. I just felt like we let the Sharks back in it, and that's why they, in the end, they went on to win the game, which was 16-12. I thought we did everything right in the game, but we just weren't able to convert those scoring opportunities. And throughout the first couple of games of the season, it was, our attack was just very clunky and it wasn't really clicking the combinations, and that's what I felt. So this first game really showed it, for the first game.
So I just added in Tan's, Ash. Can we just change the change our banner?
Hopefully there's a layout for that.
I'll just remove the overlay and see if it should fit in. Should be able to fit in Tan's as well.
All right, so remove the overlay.
And go back to the solo layout. So we need an extra. Oh yeah, can we make a 5-man? Cancel. See if we. Anyway, there we go. Perfect. Okay, yeah, they'll do. They'll do. Thanks, bro. Yeah, Tons. We're just quickly recapping that Sharks game. What I'll do is I'll bring you in on the next game. On the Storm, okay. Look, so this is probably the worst game of the year. A big game for us. We know the scoreline 30-26. They scored 3 tries early in the first half. Dallin scored 1 earlier, and then in the second half, we pretty much dominated. With tries to Dallin, Jackson Ford, Montoya, Metcalf 2 of 4, and 3 penalty goals, if you guys remember that. And then obviously we know Xavier Coates in the 79th minute. Just quickly on that team list, it was Tane again at the back. No changes barring in the forward pack. Freddie Lussick started, so I think Egan might have had a concussion. And the 4-pack was otherwise unchanged. Tom and Bunty started there. Dills and Chanel came in. So, Tans, what's your thoughts on this game? Just a quick little summary of good and bad or that type of thing around our performance for that Storm game.
Heartbreaking was probably the first word that comes to mind. Shit. it's typical throughout our season. We never, and that's just a game where we didn't play 80 minutes. And that's what's really frustrating. We have, those awesome friggin' 20-minute spurts that kind of get us back into the game. But yeah, and I think that's the frustrating thing was that throughout the whole season, not playing a full 80 minutes for a game. But yeah, that game was really heartbreaking because I can't stand the Storm. I think they're our biggest bogey team because we haven't beaten them for 10 years or something crazy like that. And
14.
so I was really hoping that this was going to be the game, but it wasn't. So yeah, it was. Yep. Was gutted.
Anyone else got it? Just jump in if you anything other thoughts come for you. Otherwise, we'll keep moving.
Yeah, bro. I felt like in this one, I felt like obviously we went down a couple of tries to the piece early on. I think that we started to bring it back and our attack started to really click a little bit in this game. We started to find a lot of points from, really nice shifting. Second chance sort of efforts there too with Roger Tuivasa-Sheck knocking the ball back to Jackson Ford for his try. And it was kind of like, all right, we're starting to see it again. Like, you know what I mean? It was exactly like Tan's saying, like we're seeing everything and like just going for the stats back again, like the statistics are across the board. Like we beat them in run meters, beat them in post-contact meters, like all those big areas, but we just couldn't with the finishing touches. And I feel like it's the same thing from the Sharks game to this one was, we had everything else, but just like that beautiful paintbrush that put the ending touches on it. And, the amount of bomb tries that we had in the Sharks game and this one, the big heartbreak at the end where honestly, I felt like we all thought, oh yeah, we're home here, we're home. And it just had to go through like one of the most bonkers tries of this year to kill off us. And there's a couple of these games where I felt like this could have been our turning point, right? This could have been the start to our season where we beat the Melbourne Storm. We got the monkey off the back. Now we're getting through the year. But again, heartbreak again. And I felt like the boys kind of carried their divots throughout the season. And I feel like this is one of the starts of it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I think you guys summed that up. We'll keep it moving. Now I see we're starting to get a theme going as we talk through these games.
Yeah, starting to see it.
Yeah. Let's go to a positive. Warriors versus Raiders in Christchurch. AFB got over early. Metcalf, that try off of Dallin. I remember that one where Dallin cut back inside and short ball to Metcalf was great.
Bang.
And then RTS at the back got over as well. 3 out of 3 from Luke Metcalf. So I think Luke clicked it in the first round, or SJ, they swapped over. So that was nice to see. And teamless, Tane started, but he got the HIA, I remember, I think, early.
Yep.
So that pushed Roger to the back. 4-pack still unchanged. Freddie Lussick was starting. Tom Bunty and Chanel. So that forward pack is still pretty consistent, barring Egan at this point in the season. I'll chuck this to you, Ty. Anything that stands out for you from this game?
I think just going off what Ash said in the last game, I think we thought that Melbourne Storm finally will have the monkey off the back, and obviously getting the W with against the Raiders, it felt like, oh cool, we finally got to that point. And especially if you look at the games before, right, the first 20 minutes of Sharks, we played well, then fell over. For the Storm game, it was during the middle, and I felt like, we had reached it. We finally finished the game.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it was like, here we go. We got to see 2023 again. This is all it. So that's all I remember. And obviously Rogers' try, that was pretty special. Just obviously just going off his own little flair, going across the field and got through. So yeah, I just thought we saw a bit more opportunity. And at that time, I think just want to point out that Raiders are quite a young side, or young old, depending on which players you're looking at. But there are a lot of young players playing there. But they were actually doing well at that time too. So it wasn't like Raiders team that was back of the bunch. They're actually doing all right. So I felt like, hey, we're looking good now. We should kick on from here. But yeah, we all know how the season went after that.
Any other thoughts? Yeah, Fanatics, you got something there?
Look, I think of course, going off those two games that we lost, and then going to this one, we had to get a win. I think that was the most important thing for me. And although this wasn't still I felt like it wasn't still our best performance. We came up against a very gritty Raiders side, and we just got the result. And I remember, of course, that RTS try, which was great bit of skills there. And Yeah, and of course the newer bloke scoring the try as well. And look, Metcalf was great in this game as well, kicking 3 from 3 in the conversion. So yeah, all I remembered was it was a win that we needed, because after the two games that we went down in close encounters, and we had to get a win, and we got a win in it in the end. So I take out of that Raiders game.
Cool, man. Yep,
Yeah.
we'll keep it moving, unless anyone thinks he's got anything else. Next week, 20-12 at Mount Smart. Jackson Ford scores early. Chanel, I think around that mark was when Metcalf got injured. So, and then Chanel scored that one off of Egan. I remember that was a beautiful one where Egan went through, and then Montoya got over as well. Sean 3 from 3 kicking with a penalty goal, and I think they had like a late surge at the end for the Knights. Just quickly on that team list, it was Roger at the back because CNK was still injured.
Pompey came in too.
Pompey came in.
Yeah,
it was still Luke and Shaw until that point.
Wade Egan came back.
Egan was in. Yep. That back row was still the same with Tohu. Marata has just come back in with Bunty, Jazz, and CHT. Tan,
Oh, shit.
remember this one? Oh, you okay? You're frozen up there.
Not the internet. Oh, no.
You've been caught right in the middle.
There we go. Yeah.
You had like a really bad look. You're like,
something popped up and I meant to flick it away, but I clicked on it and it took me to frickin' TikTok or something. So my bad. Sorry, guys. The Knights at home. Do you know what? I honestly, I vaguely remember that game. I vaguely remember many of the games from this season because they were also frickin' really frustrating, a lot of the games. So I can't even remember it, to be honest. I remember.
That's right. Just that's all good. I was just gonna see you, Ash. Yeah. What was your read on this game?
So throughout this point of the season, I'll probably say we're probably starting to see this is like our best period defensively this season by far. I think at this point we're actually the best defensive team in the competition, and even with the next couple of games coming up, we still held that. We were incredible. Like it was wild. Defensively, we were unreal. Thinking back to the tries they scored in this game too, Tyson Frizzell was a kick in behind, and I do believe that Braden Best had a very similar thing as well. So it was 2 opportunist tries for the Knights, where majority of our the sets that the Knights were throwing up on us, we were actually defending fairly well. From memory in this game, and off the last game was probably the first game we actually lost statistically. Like the Raiders actually took us, through the middle as well. It was actually a really hard-earned victory. In this one, we got back to what we knew, and I felt like, we were fairly dominant through the middle. We found our way down the opposite end. We probably could have done a lot more of what we had. But 20-12 against a Knights side that had KP that was fresh and raring to go as well to start the season too. That was preseason KP, before he got injured again. So, a solid victory. And this is like where everyone was starting to get a little bit more positive now. Like we got 2 wins on the trot now, rolling into the next game. Everyone started to feel fairly positive. And as I said, we're the best defensive side in the competition at this stage.
Oh,
absolutely. Yeah, it was a good little run, and we're going to tie in now with one of the best performances at the start of the season, at least. We go to the Rabbitohs and we put a number on them, 4-34. Rocco Berry, early, Jackson Ford, 34th minute. Sean Johnson got over. Sean again, 47th. Roger got over the line, and Tamaiti in the 70th. 5 from 6 kicking as well from Sean at that time. Our team list is Chance.
I remember.
Chance came back.
The Chance came back. Chance came back that one. Roger went to the right wing. So it was Berry and Pompey, Montoya. That was Tamaiti's first game back in the team, who'd been playing Cup for the majority of that time. Egan, so Bunty started this game. I don't really remember that, but Mitch went. Mitch went to the back row with Jackson Ford. So, Catewell. I think Catewell got that knock. Did he? No, he must have got a knock. Tom.
Yeah, because the Dragons game he was sore. Yeah,
and Laban, and then Harris Tavita.
First time we get to see Laban too.
Yeah. Okay, Tans, this one's for you. Remember this one? It's a good one. What's your thoughts on
Oh, look, I just remember that game because I think our spine was just freaking, they were awesome. And I think that probably even, I don't even think our spine played that well together last year. Like they were just, they were just on, they just knew exactly what was going on. They read each other perfectly. And I was just like, whoa, man, it was beautiful to watch. It was beautiful to watch, man. Just them running off Egan, like, Timairi on one side, SJ on the other, C&K at the back. It just worked perfectly. Yeah, man, that game was probably my favourite out of the whole season. And not just because we whipped them, it was just because of the way we played.
Yeah, it was really good. Like Egan was tearing them apart, but everyone was supporting each other really well.
Yeah.
Anyone else thoughts on this game?
Yeah. I just wanted to add that, just the whole Egan display, right? We saw running Egan, and when Egan's out there running with boys supporting him, it's amazing to watch. And I think a lot of us were like, "Oh, is this Egan's year to go into Origin? Is this finally his year to kind of make that leap?" Especially with that game. Only thing I was thinking though it was the Rabbitohs at the time, and they weren't doing too well too. So I was kind of like, I love the display of what we're seeing, but we're versing a Rabbitohs team that might be getting a wooden spoon at the end of the year too. So it was kind of pump the brakes a little bit.
Yeah, it was like there was a little caveat too, like, because the Rabbitohs just got off their first win too against the Dogs. I remember that being a really hard-earned victory against the Dogs, and then we came up and we just smoked them, right? Yeah, Latrell, yeah, right. So obviously the Rabbitohs fans, like, they thought they would get their season back on track after the Dogs game. Then they came up against us, so I felt like a lot of people probably thought it was going to be fairly 50-50 there, and then we end up just smoking them. Another one too, like you remember this, Levon, I'm pretty sure we're looking at, this is the first time we saw Tamati Martin and Sean Johnson together, and we were starting to look and we were like, oh, okay, so this is the attack started to really go well. Tamati Martin's in the 6th role. Is he maybe the 6 that we just run through, and then whatever happens with Luke Metcalf, Tamati looked like, we were talking about, he looked like Jerome Luai in some moments there too for us. Like, we were talking about that. It was like, could he be like our Jerome Luai to that? Like, could that really work? And that was my memory from this game. It's just everything really clicked for us. Early on, I actually thought that we're probably going to go down. I think Isaac Thompson went over. It was a defensive breakdown on Roger Tuivasa-Sheck's wing, that side. And obviously, left Chance in his boots. But I think Chance had one of his biggest games in this one, ran for close to 300 meters, and he was incredible too. So great victory there. And obviously, Fisher Harris got signed after this one too, right? It was before or after this game, and that was a big turning point of the season.
Bad omen.
Crazy.
Okay, anything else on that one, guys? Jump in. Otherwise, I want to move on to
the question though. Was that Laban's debut? And did you say Laban played that game?
No, he played.
Yes.
Yes,
he was on the bench.
He was on the bench that game. He did come on for a little bit, I remember.
30 minutes. Yep, that was his debut.
Yeah. Okay.
So we had Bunty Afoa start at prop, so that was a big change. We had Chanel still back on the bench again. We had Tamati Martin come back into the lineup. Roger moved to the wing. Adam Pompey stick in that center role. Yeah, that was where we started testing our depth. Jacob Laban had to come into our lineup, which is, when we started the season, our preseason talk, we didn't think we'd have to touch our depth that early, but we did. We had to touch it that early. And we didn't really think about it at the time because we were going fairly well.
Just check your guys, your mics, if you're touching it, or just a little bit of popping coming through. Tahi said, all good. Okay, let's get into this. This is kind of a turning point, moving forward. Warriors versus Seagulls. This is the draw, 22-22. I just remember this. The Seagulls just got out to a red hot start. 3 tries off of just long range, a bit of everything. You remember DCE? He got a few kicks through me. In fact, they scored all their points in the first, just 40 up to the 44th minute. But then we fought our way back in. Jazz got one, Dallin got one just before halftime. Sean got over, and Dallin got that one in the 79th. And then we all know that penalty, attacking the kicker, got the legs, and then we went to Golden Point, and just no one could get it over. We had the best chance. Tohu if he didn't knock it on, we might be talking about a different story here. But I'll just chuck this at you, Fanatics, man. What was your recollection of this one?
Yeah, look, I thought, the way Manly started this game, they were completely dominant. Like their 4-pack, I felt their 4-pack were really taking it to us, especially, and Cherry Evans as well, having one of those games, as he usually does against us, which is very annoying every time. Yeah, it always happens all the time with Cherry Evans up against the Warriors. And yeah, Manly's 4-pack, I felt like they were so dominant early on, and we just couldn't take it to them. And of course, we managed to regroup in the second half. And of course, that controversial penalty, if you call it controversial, I thought it was a penalty, but Manly fans won't agree with it. They thought Sean dived. I think they thought Sean Johnson dived, but
he did lie on the ground for a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, he
kicked the goal off the same foot. So what did it say?
Shout out, Shawnee.
Yeah, but you got to do what you got to do to get the penalty.
Yeah,
so,
no, you got to milk. Yeah, you milked it.
You've got to do it.
That's it.
But yeah, look, like the golden point, I thought was frustrating because we had, I think, every game this year, it feels like this, but we haven't taken our chances. In golden point, we had a few opportunities, and of course, Toe made that big mistake, which was very uncharacteristic of him. A few of our senior players as well making some big mistakes in golden point. And then, of course, the drop goals, we just couldn't convert those drop goals. And that's what I remembered about this game. I felt like if you're a Manly, you'd be frustrated. You'd felt like you should have won this game because they were up by a very good lead. And we were just lucky. I felt like we were just fortunate to come away with the draw in the end. And that's what I felt after the game. Felt like, it was a draw, felt like, a result that probably we didn't deserve. I felt like Manly probably deserved to win the game, if I'll be honest. But yeah, look, we just got away with it in the end, and that's how I felt towards the game.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those games. Anything
So
else
two things, bro. Yeah, I want to touch on this one too. Is I think this was the start of the Tohu issues. So Tohu's injury. I think from memory, I think it was Anthony Gelling or whatever, or someone brought up in, I think it was either SEM Radio or whatever, but he said that that knock on, I'm pretty sure at that game he had both his wrists strapped up to the 9. He's usually strapped up anyway, so you wouldn't know anything different, right? But that was where his chronic wrist issue was starting to really begin. And so obviously the drop ball, a lot of minutes and stuff like that. So that is what they're saying for that period there too. But also I think the start of that game from memory, I think DC had a try that it was a ball that ended up getting kicked or bounced off a couple of people. He found the right moment as DC usually does. He's one of the luckiest guys in rugby league, honestly. He finds himself in some of the best moments. I thought we did a fair crack to get back into this game. Ended the game statistically superior again. Had the better opportunities to win the game. I felt like it was a heartbreaker. We couldn't get over the top. This could have been our Sharks game of 2023 for me, in my opinion.
This game was another game where we got stripped long range tries, speed on the outside just killed us. Got exposed from, kind of. It just felt as though we got torn apart, from a defensive point of view with those early tries. But it was a game that we kind of didn't deserve, but also that we kind of did deserve. But it was just one, it ended up being what it was. My kind of rough point. Okay, we'll move it on. This one was a tough one. Dragons 30-12. We score early from Sean, and then it just turns to 5 straight tries. Sully went over Ravalawa, Ben Hunt, Lomax, and Sloan. Dallin scores a complimentary try at the end. The team list for that game: Chance is still there. Roger had moved to, I think he's at left center. To Mighty Sean still. Egan, same forward pack pretty much, from what I understand. Laban had a few more games. Paulie Roach, I think, was on the bench, and I think both him and Pompey, I can't remember if that was the one that they both didn't get used. I'll chuck this at you, Ty. You remember this one, man, and thoughts?
Unfortunately, remember this one. I think, if there was a villain arc, and this, like, in terms of a game where you were like, oh man, I want to take on the world because I'm now frustrated and angry. This was it for me. Like, I think from memory, I remember that when we first got our first try, we were heavily attacking that right side because Sean Johnson was there all the time, and we finally got through. And I finally thought, oh, maybe we would start seeing a bit more, not just difference, but variations of the play. But it looked like once we started, I guess, them getting tries on us, we just looked frustrated and we just looked like we gave up halfway through that game. And I think for me, that was kind of the first exposure of like this kind of, I think, showed all year this mental fortitude. Like maybe we're not as solid as I thought we were. Because we just fell over like a ton of bricks, and it was so frustrating to just watch. And even I remember reviewing the game. And shout out to Damien, actually, from Warriors Fan TV. He brought up a good point, which I didn't even think of at the time, is that we just played, obviously, an overtime game last week. So a lot of those boys were tired and all of that. And I feel like it kind of dragged on. And I don't think just from a physical standpoint, but just from a mental standpoint, these boys just look hooked. So, yeah, it was frustrating to watch. That's
they had no legs, after that first 15, from what I remember. Like, just body wasn't willing. Tans, your thoughts on that one?
Oh, bro, like...
Sorry to bring up the negative one.
All I can see in my head is Zach Lomax flying in some motor.
Oh, yeah, that one. Like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, and it's just like, I believe I can fly, and this guy's honestly, I was just like, where the hell did he come from? And that was just, I was, God, was anyone else like, what the hell? I was.
He was on a different level.
Well, then when you saw the origin, you're thinking, that's why. But we didn't know at the time, like, kind of like.
I just, because they just finished saying how good he was in the air, and then he just flies over. But I think also in that game is when other, because we were so right side dominant, playing to the right side. I think that's when we got really exposed and really found out. And not just by the Dragons, but just further on into the season when SJ was playing. I think that's when it kind of all came to an end. When everyone clicked on that, bro, we got to try something new. Something's got to change because we're not gonna win games always doing the same thing, in my opinion, anyway. But I think that was a big loss.
Yep. Anyone else on that one? Want to add to that?
From memory too, like I think like this was so the game, like just looking at the team list they ran out to, Jacob Laban got back into the lineup in this one. We had Adam Pompey on the bench, Paulie Roach, and we had Jackson Ford go down in this game. Kurt Capewell came out of this game injured as well. And I think Sean Johnson didn't finish out the game, judging by the minutes there too. So I didn't remember that. But this is where, again, we started finding injuries back in the lineup. And a lot of people were obviously saying we should have rested Tohu and stuff in this moment. But I think this is where our depth started to really get tested again too. So a lot of guys like Zion was starting to be in the conversation to get his start in this game. That was the conversation there. A lot of fans were like, here we go, we're going to see Zion, but we never got to because he got picked at 18th man. But that's where we got to. Like our bench of Tom Ale, Bunty Afoa, like Dylan Walker and Jazz Tavanga all gone in this game. So we had a completely new bench. So and we're going off of like a 90-minute game, Manly game against the Dragons team that no one knew were going to become this up and down side that they were, and they pulled our pants down, and we were very ordinary in this game, and this is where we kind of go like, yeah, there's something wrong here. And so I keep saying like that point of James Fisher-Harris getting signed at like the Rabbits game, it started to see like the performances started to go down since those games, and I really do think that was a key point. That Manly Seagulls game, we just couldn't get over the top, and the boys carried their divots. They really did.
It was like a mini Titans game. From like, remember the 66-6? It was. In a way, it was a mini one of those. It was like, oh crap, hope we don't ever see that again. But yeah, it was really frustrating. Okay, then we move it. Yeah, sorry, Tans. Yep.
No, I think that game was the sign of bad things to come. Just but losing the way we did and losing to such a big differential, 30 points, conceding 30 points. I think that was probably. For me, it was just like, oh, nah, man, that's not good. It's not a good sign for the rest of the season anyway. And I think that's where things kind of took a turn for the worse.
Okay, round 8 Anzac game. doesn't get any easier. But it was the Warriors 24, Titans 27. Like we started off hot. Chance went over. I remember that one, the AFB.
Yep.
Again, that similar to the Dragons game. Pattern's sort of similar. It was like 4 tries straight to the Titans. And then we get one with AFB and Rocco, and then Brimson also got over. Sean 4 out of 4 conversions. I think it's just good to bring that up. That it wasn't an issue. But the team list just quickly: CNK, Dallin, Rocco, Roger again. It's mighty Sean. Yeah, Laban started this game. You guys remember that?
Yep. Laban started. Kate Bell was out.
Yep.
Dylan Walker returned in this game. So this is his return game. Tom Ale came back into this game. Zion, his debut game in this one. And Paulie Roach only played 3 minutes for the Dragons game. So he came back into this one. Actually, I don't know if he played minutes. I'm just checking now.
I don't think he played any. Yeah.
No, he didn't play any minutes in this one.
I think you started to see a bit of a shuffle around, of things that injuries starting to catch us. Like, you know, you're starting a Jacob Laban. It's a second game. These are some of the things I'm just starting to piece together.
That Tanner Boyd try, right? The dummy and go, and Jacob like a rookie moment. But he was solid other than that moment. Like he was really, really good in that game. But yeah.
Anyone chime in? Thoughts on this game?
Was it the one that Zion debuted in?
Yeah, Zion debuted. Yep.
Oh, I was gutted that he only got to. I think if they left him on for longer, it would have because as soon as he came on, he changed the momentum when we scored. We scored as soon as he came on. We ended up scoring a try, and I was just like, "Whoa!" Like this guy just ran like off the back fence, And I think if they left him on for longer, because they took him off and put Dylan Walker back on, and I was just like, "Why? You should have just left him on there because he was just." He really lifted the boys' spirits, and you could see that as soon as he went on the field. He just, the boys' confidence lifted, and you could see that they scored. And I was just like, I don't understand why they took him off. He only played 11 minutes or something?
Played 15, yeah. It was 13, sorry.
And they should have left him on for a bit longer.
Yeah, we should have. We had.
Then we scored up.
We had 3 disallowed tries at the end of that game, remember? So we had Roger go up and get for the knock on. Then we had Dallin on the wing that ended up knocking it on too from memory. And we had another disallowed try. And that was the most, it just felt like we just couldn't get over the top. And it was just the most frustrating end I've ever seen because we absolutely came home with it. We dominated at the end and we just couldn't get happen because we let it out with that mid part of the game. We just let the leash go. You know what I mean? We let the Titans just put 5 on us and just go, we'll try and bring it back. And we almost did, but we just couldn't. It was so frustrating.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember too. Oh, sorry, go.
No, go, Tycho, go, please.
I was just going to say what I remember too is some of our defensive efforts. I think this was a game where some of our wingers were kind of pulling in. Oh, well, this happened in a lot of games, but I think this was Dalen came in. I think Brian Kelly and Khan Pereira teared us up. And I think, you touched on it around the Manly game. We were getting beaten by speed. I think we saw it again. We're getting beaten by this outside back type speed, and it got exposed in that game as well.
I was thinking about this, Ty. I was like, what's the difference between, we had injuries, but last year we beat these teams with the same lineup. When we had our fit 17 or 13, we beat these teams, the teams that had the fast players. So what changed from then till now? We had the same outside backs, like Monty and Dallin played most of the season or all of it. So what changed from last season to this season? Because we caught those players. We were catching those players last season. This season, we just thought they were just running rings around us. So, what? Yeah. Sorry, that's my question.
That's a great question. I'll jump in. Anyone else can jump in after me, but I just thought they had improved. This was Dez's first team. First year. Des been to multiple grand finals. He can turn things around. Same with Flanagan. I knew Flanagan was going to be tough. So Seabold, Seabold's probably been there a bit, but I just knew they kind of improved. And maybe we stayed the same or got worse. Maybe a bit of that, but I definitely feel like this year's comp, those coaches that came in for those teams were much
improved.
stronger, like much faster. You probably saw the little arc of the smaller man too, like the smaller, speedier fullback coming in, and even the faster leg drive type forwards. But also, I just think this squad, it's the first time it's been to a finals series that deep in the finals, with an older experience thing, and things may have just been starting to break down as well. Like maybe that's the overarching thing, but that's my 5 cents. Anyone else can jump in if they want to answer that one.
Yeah, it just I felt like it was also like, again, I kind of touch on, I think we carried our divots. I think we got so like, so it's a consistent thing of like, after that, the Dragons game, obviously, but after that Manly game where we could get over the top of them, and we had that moment with the Storm game at the start of the season, we were yet to get that one that we really pulled out of the fire, right? Like the Raiders game was probably the closest that we had, where we had like that moment where the Raiders started to like make us sweat a little bit, and then we end up coming home late. But it was like either a bit mix of complacency plus with like certain players that were regressing. Like we didn't see the combination of Sean Johnson, Tamati Martin do the same thing of what they did early last year or in that Rabbitohs game. And I don't know if there was something off with the group. I don't know what's really going on. Like there's a lot of things that could have gone on there, but also, just carrying the divots, I really do feel. I felt like we found ways to lose games in these ones where we didn't find ways to win games. Where last year, I felt like we found we found ways to win games instead of finding games to lose. Like, you know what I mean? Like we had the confidence after that Sharks win last year in 23 that carried us, and we're like, we know we can pull it out of fire. We're going to just do it, like, right? And then in these ones, it was kind of like we left it well too late, and we just didn't strike in those moments, right? And the finishing touches weren't there. It started from the Sharks game this season. We had multiple opportunities to finish that game, to score tries, and we didn't do it. We had multiple, I said 3 tries disallowed at the end of this game, because I've watched all these games, like majority of the season, because I do believe that the start of the season wasn't as bad as what we thought until the Dragons and Titans part. And that's where I started to see the turn of like, we just found ways to lose games. And I felt like maybe the finishing touches that were not there to start the season kind of hampered us in this part here.
Yeah. I think there's a bit of like, when you talk about 3 missed opportunities, like to score, there were some moments like we just didn't have any luck. Like, like we were short on luck this year for sure, bro. Honestly. Okay, we'll move on to this next one. The Knights, we played away. The torrential
this is
rain.
A tough one.
Yeah. Low scoring game, but it had a lot of the same symptoms. Dylan Walker scored, and they got 2 Gamble Saifidi, and the game just died out. There was no kind of end from what I remember. Fanatics, any thoughts on? I'll just quickly team list. Chance, same backline still. Roger probably is 3rd or 4th time as a left center. Same forward.
Bunsey came back. Bunsey came back. Tom Ale came back. And then Pompey stayed on the bench. Kurt Capewell came back into this lineup here.
Yep. Fanatics, man. Thoughts on this one against the Knights?
Look, another tough game. Another tough game because obviously with the weather as well, the rain, and I know we always say this as Warriors fans, we don't generally play well in the wet.
It's wild.
And it was another frustrating game because I felt like obviously at attack things were still not quite clicking into gear, and there's a couple of opportunities that we didn't take. Of course, we scored the 1 try with Dylan Walker, which I think was a great try. I reckon. But yeah, the Knights just I didn't think the Knights were that great either in this game. I don't think they were
they were
either,
awful,
to be honest.
Yeah.
I thought like they probably could have scored a few more points. But they made a few mistakes as well, and it was a bit of a scrappy game from both teams. I felt, even though the Knights won on the scoreboard. But yeah, it was one of another frustrating games. Like we've had already a couple this year. But this one was probably for me one of the frustrating ones as well. So yeah, just I don't know. The way I sum up this game is it's pure frustration for me because it's the same we've seen all season. It's the same old stuff we've seen all season with the execution and just it's not clicking into gear, and that's what happened in this one for me.
Yep.
For me, bro, like it was tough. This was one of the most frustrating watches because this is like where the moment. So within these other games, I think SJ's Achilles injury and him not training with the squad started to come out. I think the media started to come out about that now, and we started to play really sideways. Like this is probably the worst of like. Even in the Titans game, I felt like, watching it back before, we played really direct. I think the Dragons game, we went sideways as well. But in this one, in the wet, we just didn't use our edge back rollers that well. We weren't trying to punch through them. We were going sideways. It was so frustrating. But I go back to, I think we still had 2 big tries disallowed in this game. Dallin Martinez-Lesniak getting picked up in the corner by Greg Marju remember? Where everyone was like, could have been a penalty try. You remember that? Yeah. And that was the dying stages of the game too. And we also had the Wade Egan where they came all the way back and he knocked the ball on in dummy half where I think Roger scored from another kick that was on his edge as well. So again, another game, if we executed, we should have came home with the Chockies because the Knights were god-awful in this game and we were god-awful in this game, but it would have been one of those ones where we just take the win and go home. And obviously we just didn't do it. It was so frustrating to watch. I felt like we played probably our dumbest football in this game. From memory, we're going for short dropouts in the wet, where honestly in wet football you want to play position, like you don't want to play like, it was so frustrating. So this one was probably for me where I was looking at going, what is going on, boys? Like there is no cohesion, we're going sideways, like what are we doing now? Like bad, it's so far away from what we did for the start of the season.
Totally agree. I've only got 2 other things. I remember the rain. I remember watching the other games in rain, and I was like, bro, all these teams are throwing the ball around, looking really good. And then come to watch the game, and we're just like all dropping it everywhere. And that was both teams. So I remember the rain being
torrential.
Impactful. And then I think the second thing for me, this started raising questions around kind of the interchange. Because if I remember, this was a game where Pompey was on the bench, playing no minutes. The game before, Paulie Roach was no minutes. And even the game before, he only played 3 minutes. And it started questioning, like, why are we playing with a 3-man rotation? What's this 4th man doing there? Is actually doing nothing on the bench. So this was starting to raise questions around what are we doing with this bench rotation? It doesn't make sense.
We had a lot of those conversations on Warriors Fan TV about Webby's use of the interchange and how, I don't get it. I'm like, if you've got 4 players sitting on the bench, use those 4 players to the best, like to your advantage. So that was frustrating. But as for that game, I thought it was real lackluster, man.
Yeah, it was a shocker.
I was like, man, you guys just look like a bunch of high school kids out there.
It was a shocker. Both teams were fucking awful in this game. Honestly, that was I rewatched that. It was the most draining rewatch I've ever seen, and like I wish I didn't rewatch that at all. But with the interchange thing, that actually is an NRL sort of issue. So like I went through it when Josh Curran obviously came out with the comments and saying that he got sat on the bench. He only played 30 minutes last year off the late minutes and stuff. And I started to go through teams this year and even like some of the best coaches in the comp. And Serraldo even does it, right? So Serraldo is carrying Hopoy off their bench and just didn't use him for probably about 3 games straight. And I had a 3-man rotation bench. And a big game I wanted to point out, Craig Bellamy in the game against the Panthers, out of all games... Sorry, guys. That he could have used a full bench rotation against the Penrith Panthers. He only used 6 interchanges that game. He left 2 interchanges off in that game. He didn't use his whole bench that game. It's like that's for some. I don't know what that is. I'm still trying to figure out what that is, but. It's not just that's actually an NRL thing. I don't know why. Maybe it's momentum. Maybe it's just certain players. I think we're like listening to to Willie Mason. He says that in moments that players legit will dictate that sometimes, whether they're having a good game, they'll just tell them, "No, I'm staying on," stuff like that. I'm not too sure, but even some of the best coaches don't use their full interchange for some reason. I don't know why.
Water there, bro.
Yeah, bro, I'm struggling.
So in regards to our bench players, and this is going off track a bit, but just how Josh Curran said, like how he didn't want to come off the bench, he wanted to start. I just want to shout out to all bench players that they need to realise how important
the bench is, right? Yep.
Like they are so crucial to our game. And so when they're like, I want to start, I don't like, it's like, bro, you don't realise how much like how big a part you play in the team, just coming on for those 20 minutes. So yeah, I just wanted to say that. I just want to shout out to our bench
100%.
players because they are so crucial, man. Yeah.
Hey guys, just quickly, we're only at round 10, but if you do need to go, just no, we might be here for another hour and a half. But if I'm just saying, we want you to stay here as long as you possibly can. But don't feel like, this is I got to go to bed. Do what you got to do. But just sort of letting you know, we're gonna go right through till. But this is awesome. I'm loving this discussion because we're kind of learning a lot. That's another bad game.
This is where injuries started to fucking hamper us too.
Roosters 38-18. Yeah, and this one they just flew out. Look, it just was over within. Well, it felt over early. It was 4 tries within 12 minutes, which was just crazy. Then they score again. 44th minute. Tedesco 52nd, and we kind of get some tries. But there was a pattern. I remember me and Ash talking about there was a good period of 60 minutes where we fought hard. Yeah. Pompey's this is his first time on the boot. 3 out of 3. Just quickly, teamless wise, CNK, Pompey left center. I think this is where Roger got injured. Cossi.
Yep, he was injured before this, and Marcelo Montoya was injured or dropped. Yep.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, he was dropped. That's right. Yeah.
Yep, he was dropped in this one.
Mighty Sean is again. AFB Lussick was back.
Freddie Lussick came back. Yep.
Bunty starting. It's funny how much I didn't realize how much Bunty was involved in these early games because I felt like he hasn't played it almost the whole second half of the season, but you can see he's involved in a lot of the lineups. Egan off the bench for this one, so you can see they kind of played with Lussick and Egan a lot.
Yeah, Catewell came out too. No Catewell. Barnett had to go to an edge. Jazz Tavanga came back in this game.
Jazzy back in. Tom Ale and Walker. Ty, what's your recollection on this one, brother?
All I remember is 20 minutes. If it went on 5 more minutes and they were scoring tries, I was turning the whole game off. That's all I remember. But I think we did all right to kind of score some tries. But yeah, that was felt like obviously the season was falling over before there, but it just kind of got to a place where is this what you guys are going to do to us? Not just to us as fans, but just to everyone that watches you every week. What are you guys doing? Just felt like you guys didn't show up at all. What happened with the warm up? You guys just didn't give a fuck that day. I don't know what happened. But credit to them. They tried their best to come in, and there were some moments during that middle period where I was like, they showed something, but I think I was too pissed off with that start. So yeah, that's what I remember.
Yep. Yeah. Anyone else jump in if you got a thought?
I'll jump in with this one. Look, I just remember of course, the start, and then my feeling was, this could get real ugly. Is this the Roosters? This felt more like a training session for the Roosters. That's how it felt to me. And I felt like this could be a big score. I felt like it could be 50 or 60 at this rate. And I think there's a period where the Roosters made a few errors there. They kept making a few errors, and it started to get a bit scrappy for them after a bit of a dominant period. And then I think the second half we fought back well. We got a couple of tries there, and but look, the game was long gone at halftime. It was long gone. Just another one of those games where it was just a tough watch as a whole. But the efforts in the second half were a lot better. But then reality is it was another one of those poor performances for us.
Yeah, I felt like this one was a mix and match of Gossi and Bompy put together for their week on that same side. Joey Manu went to town. SJ did his peck in this game. So he did his peck in this one, and we just got blown off the park to start with. I was happy to see us fight back later on in that game, and Bompy ended up having to take the kicking boot because SJ was off. So I think we had our better later on in that game when SJ ended up coming off. I think SJ ended up giving the try assist to Gossi, and then he was off. And then we end up scoring 2. And I even think the the Roosters won in that second. Oh no, they drew with us in that second half anyway. So that was a sour one. Our defense was well off in that game, and it was just that's where I think we got to one of our lowest points of the season. But we didn't know we were going to have another low point later on. So that was our lowest point at that part.
Let me just break that down. It was like, so it was 5-game chunk, and it was just really bad.
Poor,
So, like, we had a decent start of 5 games, and then that was just that kind of. I think for a lot of us, it was like we're just starting to question everything. You know, there's a lot of Webby out. You know, all this type of talk. But yeah, okay, then. I think in a way this is another turning point for the season as well. Magic round, the Warriors win 22-20. Montoya goes over, Taula in the first. So it was 2 tries each in the first half. Pompey went through. Oh, sorry, Leotoa scored in the start of the second half. Isaiah Yeo scores. Tuo Piki goes over. Tungle goes over. They take the lead. Tuo Piki comes through. Tane was on the boot that day. 3 from 4. There was the Isaiah Yeo sin bin where he ran into CNK. Now teamless. This was kind of a really new look team. Tane obviously came back. Remember Tane played those 3 first games. We hadn't seen him for a while. It was a reshuffle backline with Tane in there. Leotoa with his first start of the year. Then you had CNK at 6, and then this was the first time I think a lot of us can agree. Like this is when we first saw Tamaiti as a kind of 7.
A 7, yeah.
He was always used as a 6, whether you could, whether that was good or bad. But him at a 7, and then Chance as a 6. Bunty again, totally forgot, but Bunty starting in this one.
Good old Bunty.
Forward Barnett, Walker. And then a bench of Tom Arler, Jazz, Jacob Laban, and Paul Roach. And Egan, I think, got the concussion. And then Paulie played pretty much 65 minutes, I think.
And Monty did his shoulder from memory, right? Remember Monty crashing in the corner, did his shoulder. He got brought off, or he had the head knock. He got brought off. And there was another injury. I think Ali ended up getting the ankle injury that he played through in this game, and he ended up finishing fairly well too, that we didn't see him for like 4 weeks after this too. So a lot happening, and we still got the win against the Panthers, which we didn't believe.
No. But I'll chuck this at anyone that wants to answer it. But like, what was it about like this team and this performance that was able to change the kind of? It looked like a whole new kind of team. Like the energy was totally different, and it kind of like looks like But just what was your guys' view on? Why did this kind of team start to click?
I'm of the opinion that, one, I think you're what you said before about Tamaiti being able to run the ship, him, and he was awesome, man, that try assist to Ali. But also, I reckon sometimes when you do have injured players, like you have no choice, you've got to play your cut players. Sometimes I think it's a good thing, because the other team don't know how to defend those players because they're not used to play. They haven't played against them. That's what I think anyway. And I just think it happened to pay off that day. And in regards to Penrith, they got the 3-peat and all that. But even though they've won games this year, I don't think they're as classy as what they were, previous seasons. Like, they're still a great team. They're still winning games, but they're not as classy as what they have been, and probably that's because, Nathan Cleary's been injured a lot this season. But I think because we had a lot of cup boys on the field that day, it worked to our advantage, because the other team hadn't played against them, don't know how to defend them, don't know what their attack's going to be like. So, that's what I think anyway.
It was one of those ones that it kind of like, I think it's where we started to see that also when we strip back everything, that if boys played with enthusiasm, effort, we ran hard, we could beat anyone on our day. Like, even though it was tough and we didn't have Adam Fedor-Blake only played 40 minutes of that game from memory as well. Remember, he ended up obviously later on becoming, that indiscretion in the sheds and all that sort of stuff. So it's a little bit off what's going on there. But Yeah, like we did that without Adam Fedor-Blake playing his best game, and we still beat a Penrith Panthers squad that I think they were coming into that game, a couple on the trot. No one expected that game to ever happen, and we were out of all the games. Remember, we went for that period. We were trying to point out where was it going to turn. We were like, all right, so Titans at Anzac, all right, it's going to turn there. Nah, Knights, it's going to turn there. Nah, didn't happen. Oh, it's not going to turn at the Roosters. Yeah, of course it doesn't. It's like, well, the Panthers going to smash us, but maybe the Dolphins, and we end up beating the Penrith Panthers. So, but yeah, I do think that when we stripped it all back, when we played the system the way it's supposed to be played, I think that when we played with effort, intensity, and we ran hard and just did what we were supposed to do, I think it just showed in this little period that we're about to talk about with our stripped back lineup that it can work. It's just, I felt like maybe this opened up the whole doors of maybe there's something more going on in the behind the scenes with a lot of our bigger players. I'm not too sure.
Just because that's a important point. What I understand from what you guys are saying is that this was the first game, what should have been it was in a weird way, a comeback game. It was a really tight game, and we overcame the odds. And that's what we were expecting from those other games that
start the season. Yep.
So I'll chuck this to you, Ty. How do we all of a sudden overcome the odds to, when, the Storm game we nearly did, but we gave it away. There was, other games that were tight and we but this game, for some weird reason, it kind of felt like we actually, kind of overcame a big hurdle.
Yeah, good question. I don't really have a solid answer. I think there was a little bit of luck involved. Take that Isaiah Yao situation as an example. And I'll even say, and I remember we talking about it at that time too, when obviously Chance played 6 in this game, and we've never seen him play 6 in an NRL game.
Yeah.
And he did one of the most, credit to him, it got where he needed to. There was some crazy double pump there, my bro, and it got to I feel like a little bit of luck kind of played into our hands too. But I think you guys touched on too the enthusiasm when you got some of these young boys coming in. I think part of that too is that they bring this energy, sometimes raw energy, but also if you're an experienced player and you got that around you, you kind of want to lift your game too. So that's kind of all I can put it down to, was a bit of that. And I think for me too, it was probably, I remember our review, Tans, we were talking a hell of a lot of should we be bringing more of these young cup boys up to kind of play? But I guess, always the question there, right, is that how do you blood them in properly? Because you do too many of that, can all go sour and actually not work out. And I think, to your points, Tans, and what you talked about, I actually don't think they actually knew how to defend some. And one example, and I remember quite vividly, is that when Ali got his breakthrough, he actually changed his line and it was running at Luai. Luai didn't realize that. Luai was so focused on he's just going to run a straight line, and he actually popped out into an overs line and ran through. And I was like, see, that little variation, it works for short games. It's a good short term kind of thing that you'll do. Over time, these players will start picking up, or coaches start picking that stuff up. I think enthusiasm from these cup boys maybe got them in terms of revved up for their game.
Yeah, and this is a period go Tan, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I thought Paulie Roach was awesome for us that day too.
Oh, he was unreal. Yeah. And coming to this one, the Panthers went from they beat the Tigers nothing 22-6, but they beat the Cowboys 26-20, the Rabbits 42-12, the Doggies 16-10. Then they lost to us. Then they beat the Sharks the next week 42-0. So it was that little period there where it was coming into that game, the Panthers were looking they were slightly kind of getting back into their form because they didn't have their best start of the season. Before all that period, they lost to the Manly Seagulls, memory. So yeah, it was a win that I didn't expect happen. I think it was probably the start too of the Penrith Panthers figuring out that their right side defense was starting to be really figured out, because I think majority of our tries came from that side as well too. Marcelo Montoya, Chance for that moments there, we're starting to pick on that edge a little bit, and we got the Chockies at the end of the day. So it was a start of something.
It was like a perfect storm. It was a perfect storm in terms of we caught them off guard a little bit. Tamaiti, we didn't know that. We didn't know. Leatoa, just kind of the perfect storm of young guys. Even Paulie Roach. I think if Egan had stayed on, I don't think we would probably have that type of impact that Paulie
to know what Paulie could do. Yeah,
Paulie brought another dynamic. It was picked the whole game up, and the energy was different. So I think it was that perfect timing, and we kind of caught them a little bit off. They had a lot of drop balls. They had those sin bins, penalties. Even that kick for Dylan Edwards, I was like, "Are you sure you want to take this kick?" And then, that's cracking up. But yeah, it was like a. Sorry, Tansi, what were you saying?
No, I remember half time, and I think it was 10. Was it 10-4 to them? 10-6. I think.
Yeah. I just looked the halftime score. What was it? I think so.
10-4.
Right. Yeah, 10-4. It was 10-4. Yep.
Yeah, when half time, I was like, bro, like, I think we're gonna like this is good. Like, I was like, I think we're gonna win this, you know, because there's only a 6-point deficit, and I was just like, bro, they're not playing well. Like, something's not, and I was like, I think we can do this, man, and we did. And you know what annoyed me about that game? Those goddamn commentators. I swear, like.
Yeah,
even when it was like tied up, the commentators still like, oh, but Penrith. I was like, bro, can you just give us can you just say that we're playing mean? But anyway, that was a great game, and good on them.
Agreed.
Yep. Okay, let's keep it moving. Keep it positive. This is another great game. I think if we remember the build up into this, we'll get to the team list, but 24-20. At home, Chanel goes over 20 minutes. Tamaire scores one, Dallin, and then Marata 66. Pompey again, 4 out of 4 conversions. That kind of a little storyline there. I remember they scored 3 tries early. Sarko, Farnsworth, and Tabuai Fido, and that's kind of when you felt like, oh damn, we're really in again. It's going back to that previous. We were leaking too many tries. Isako scores one late. 16-12 at halftime to them. Teamless wise, Dallin at the back. Marcelo came back in. I think that was the week RTS had got. He was still injured with his hamstring. Yeah, that's right. Pompey and MGT was in there with Kossi.
That's right. We lost Chance too. No Chance too.
Yeah, we lost Chance. How did we lose Chance in that week?
It might have happened in that Panthers game. I'm not too sure.
A knock or something. You might have got a HI. I can't remember.
Is that when Dallin? Is that when Dallin started?
Dallin played fullback.
Yeah, played fullback. Tamari and CHT. So this was their first time together. Bunty. I honestly can't even remember. Bunty is the most invisible guy I don't know why he played so many games. I can't believe it. I would have just saw AFB and Barnett the whole time. So,
bro, this team was to do this when the Dolphins were the Dolphins were still top 8, looking like top 4 sort of look at side. A lot of people were like, oh my God, the Dolphins might get finals this year finally. Going teamless to teamless, we shouldn't have come away with the 2 points in this one.
Oh.
Yeah, so Bunty started, Paulie Roach started. We know he got, I think he had HIA in 7 minutes in. Marata, Jackson, Ford, Mitch Barnett, and Dylan. Then it was
Tohu.
Yeah, no Tohu at that stage. Tom, Ale, Jazvang, and Laban. Fanatics, man. What was your take on this game? And what would you think of it? Yeah.
Yeah, from my memory, I just remember this game with the fact that we've had so many changes going into this because of course Dallin at fullback, and then we had Graham Moala Graham Talfa making his debut as well. And look, it was a tough game because we were playing against a team that was in great form. Like the Dolphins were in the top 8 going into this game, and I thought this was always going to be a tricky one at home. And of course, we're looking to bounce off that win against Penrith the following week and then win this one. But 24-20, I felt. At the end, I felt like the Dolphins were coming when they scored that try, but luckily they just didn't have enough time in the end. But look, the Dolphins, they're such a good team. I always thought this was always going to be a tricky one, and for us to get the win with the amount of changes we made, I think was very encouraging. I thought this was a sign that maybe we could turn a corner after the Penrith game and going into this game and getting a win. And it was a good result, all being with a few changes in that. So. Yeah, I was pretty happy with our performance, all things considered.
I just remember quickly before you guys jump in, we fought hard for this game. I just remember feeling like everyone chipped in, really gave their all to try and get this victory. Another one where, I felt like one of the best performances from the whole team, a team. Dallin, everyone really played their part. Because, the Dolphins were home strong, and then we survived it almost. But yeah, jump in anyone. If they, any thoughts?
Yeah, big notable names, It's like there was no Chance, no SJ, no Adam Fanor-Blake. Like, some of our biggest pieces were out in this game. And statistically, we still won out statistically in this game. Still ran for more meters than the Dolphins, 1,700, which is above our average as well. 581 run meters. And this is against a Dolphin side that this is their backline. Like, this is their side. Hamiso, Jermaine Asako, Jake Avarillo, Herbie Farnworth, Jack Bostock, Cody Nicolima, Isaiah Katoa. Like, this is some of their better side. Jesse Bromwich, Jeremy Marshall-King, Felice Kafusi, Ewan Aiken, Connolly Lemuelu, and Max Plath. Compared to our side that had Dallin Watini-Lesniak at fullback, Marcelo Montoya, Adam Pompey, Graham Telfer, Ed Gossi, Shinaris Davida, Tamade Martin, Bunty Afoa, Maratani Akorde out front, with Paulie Roach going off with HIA. Like, it just... it was a tough fought win, and that was where it was like, all right, maybe we could make a late run home. And this is where we're starting to look at our run home and go, all right, we can do something here now. Like, we've got 2 big wins, and one of them was like legit with none of our big stars. Like, we can do it, and I think this is a little bit of a positive to our season for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, Herbie Farnsworth, man,
Herbie was beast.
He was beast.
I was just really proud of the way we managed the hammer, to be honest. Because I was expecting him to just carve us up, but they didn't really give him an opportunity. If that's the
Was it I think MGT was MGT on that side? I think
he was. He
had a difficult night, but like I think we look back on it, thought maybe he did okay, like to survive.
Yeah, he wasn't too bad. No,
he wasn't too
bad.
Yeah,
I think he made a really nice tackle on Herbie too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yes, I remember someone did like a kind of a try.
The try assist, the try saver. Sorry, yeah.
It was him,
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I thought CHD did something. I can't remember, but there was another one. Okay, that's cool. We come up to the bye. We have a great point. So we've banked 6 points, and I think we desperately needed those.
We were like, what?
just quick, kind of just before we move on. We had a bye. Was that the perfect time for a bye, or could we had a bye earlier? Would that have changed anything? Just talking hypothetical, or were you guys like happy with where we got our buys?
I think earlier bye could have helped us. But then I look at the Cowboys. They didn't get their first bye until
late.
Well into the season. But maybe not. Maybe we'll never bloody know now, but
it might have been a nice reset, like after that Titans game, or like we got smoked by the Dragons, where we got our pants pulled down, and then the Anzac game where it was our first Anzac home game since 2015 or whatever we played in New Zealand. It was a while ago. To where we were like, all right, we should have gone home with the win. So those are 2 games we got to put pants pulled down. Maybe we had the bye in between then where we could go back and kind of like reevaluate and start to go, what's going on? Like, what's happening? Get some fresh bodies back in the picture. And then the Knights game probably wouldn't have looked as fucking sour, because that Knights game was disgusting. That was probably, for me, I know that Roosters game was poor, but like that was one of our poorest performances this season too, that Knights game. That rewatch was disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't know how you watch those I don't rewatch the awful games. I can't put myself through it a second time. It does. I'm just like, I just can't. I can't.
I was just going to add, I agree with Ash in that sense. Maybe was it 5 games in a row that we lost? Having something in the middle to kind of reset
4,
would have been great. 4, yeah. But at the same time, I think without those games and those injuries, we may have not got those, those couple of wins too. So that's, exactly. I'm looking at that as a positive for it.
Yeah.
It's funny how those games that we were least expected to win, we won.
We win.
Yeah, it was weird.
Last year was one of our best seasons to date, and we couldn't, we really struggled to beat a top 4 side. This year, we slack as, but we beat top 4 sides.
Some big sides, yeah.
Yeah, man, some real big names. So it's really weird. And one of those, we played it with a New South Wales Cup side pretty much.
Well, we beat more top 8 sides than the Roosters this year. Do you know that?
Oh, that's out of it.
That's crazy, right? It doesn't make sense.
Doesn't
I
make sense.
reckon if the Roosters were all healthy, I'd pick them to win the grand final this year, because you look at that team. Sorry, I'm going off track, but that team on paper, the Roosters,
Yeah, they're
man,
deadly, right? When they're healthy, man, that should be unstoppable.
hard out,
Okay.
100%. Sorry, yeah.
No, all good. Okay, let's get into this. Another one, a game we came off the bye, and it was all good vibes. We go to Townsville, which traditionally I've always hated going to Townsville. I don't know if it was a super late game, but remember they used to play us at like the 10 o'clock spot. It was just like, oh, we just used to get killed every time we played over there. But mate, this was a game just flowed again. Charles went over early, AFB, Mitch Barnett, Rocco Berry, 4 tries in the start. Yeah, then the second half we carried on. Dallin, Nickel Clockstad again, and Rocco Berry again. Only 2 tries for them, which is again great signs as defensively. 6 for 7 from Pompey. He was absolutely on fire with a penalty goal as well. So 7 of 8 really. Chanel with that silly sin bin, him and Chad. Remember that one?
That's a disgrace.
That was the dumbest sin bin ever.
Yeah.
Chans at the back. Berry and Pompey. So that's like the back 5 of last year. CHT and Tamaitic found their combo was starting to really click, I felt. AFB, Egan, Jackson Ford into the front row, Marata, back row, Mitch Barnett and Walker. Tohu came in. Remember, this is the game he came off the bench, and I think we were all like, this is good.
This works, yeah.
This kind of works for him. Jazz, Catewell, and Lussick. I feel like maybe Catewell starting to round out at this point.
This was the start of where Catewell started to go all right. And then he got picked for Origin a little bit later. We'll talk about that. And everyone was like, how? But he ended up getting so much better after that. And I hope that was probably maybe for him getting into that camp probably helped him a lot coming back home. So, not home, but back to New Zealand. But yeah, you know what I mean? So I thought this was the first game we started to see the best out of Catewell a little bit. We started to see a lot better of a Catewell than what we did to start the season.
Yeah. I'll check this one to you, Fanatics, man. Yeah, what was your vibe after this one, man? You thought we were like looking really good?
Yeah, look, I thought everything really clicked in our attack, and of course our defense as well, because our defense throughout the whole season, and we just leaking points at will and easily as well. And we went. Townsville is not an easy trip to go up to. Of course, we don't have the best of records against the Cowboys up there, and I think we went up there and. I didn't expect us to win by 42 points to 12. I didn't expect that scoreline. I was happy to go up there and win by anything. I'll just take any margin, and everything clicked. Like Chance played well. Of course, got the sin bin as well, which was which was ridiculous. I thought that should not have been the sin bin. There's quite a few if he calls in this one, which I can go on forever, but I won't. But Chance was great. Fanua Bake as well. I think our pack was outstanding. And, of course, Berry scored a try as well. So, look, I thought throughout the whole game, it was awesome to see that. We only kept them to 2 tries as well. And, they scored 7 tries against the Cowboys who, early on in the season weren't quite there where they were. They weren't in great form either. But,
yeah.
Oh, there we go.
All right, Felix, you just popped out for a bit there, man.
I'm back.
Yeah, you're back.
Yeah,
as I was saying, it was a good performance by us in the end. So yeah, 7 tries is.
Yeah, it was great to see. Yep. Anyone else jump in? Yeah, jump in, Tom.
Was that our biggest win of the season?
30 points, and the Rabbits game was 28, was it, or something like that? So 28, 32 to thing.
Most total points, of the season, 42. Yeah, it was like the first blowout, of the Rabbitohs, and then this one.
Rocco Berry, man, I miss him.
Yeah,
I think
it was great at that time. Yeah.
Rocco was good,
Yeah, far out. I think we really missed him too. I'm a Rocco 100%. fan. I think he's dope. He's come so far. Honestly, and especially defensively, and I think we really missed him when he got injured. His kick chase, just getting down there real fast, his defence on the edges, which we really need because we know that our wingers, can really jam in sometimes. So he's been really good defensively. Well, he was. And I really hope he makes the starting side next year.
I think he will. He will. Yeah.
And this was the game where you pointed out, Levon, where Morata was starting to show, all right, like, he was in form in this part of the season here. Like, I think the Dolphins game, he came back, played in the middle, then played end of the game in the edge where he scored his try. And in this game, defensively, he was unreal, which he ended up falling off after this game, like a little bit later after this game. But in this game, we're kind of like, all right, so now we're starting to see some of the best out of Morata Niokore on the edge. And I think it was one of our one of our only games that we had no mid-game injuries. The only thing we had to deal with was Shino Harris-Tavita getting sin-binned for 10 minutes. So we actually had a full pack out there and everyone stayed on the field. No injuries.
No one.
It was a big celebration. I was like, finally, we had no mid-game changes that we had to deal with. Everything kind of went the way it was supposed to go. And shout out to Chance, that nice flick pass, try assist and all that too. He had a cracker of a game too in this one from memory. So 250 run meters and that, a couple of try assists. It was going.
Yep. Okay, guys, let's keep it moving. This was a tough one again. I think the hype was building for this too. Like we felt that we kind of like we're ready for Melbourne.
Oh, that one at home.
24-38. Two early tries for us, Pompey and Montoya. And then again that pattern of them scoring 3 or 4 in a row. I just remember that it was just the defense had just kind of fallen back to a lot of its patterns and its issues. And then the second half, we score early, and I think it would have been 20 all or something close to that time. Then it was the sin-bins to Montoya and Dallin within that space of 7 minutes. And then the tide just turned with Fa'alongo going over Coates, and then Fa'alongo at the end with the old mana wave. That's what I remember.
Yeah.
Pompey might have gone off here because Chanel did some kicking.
Yeah. Pompey got injured. We had 2 sin-bins late in that game. And then when we had Marcelo come back off his sin-bin, I think he scored, and we kind of were like, oh, and then like they went bang with Fa'alongo, and that's what ended it for us. So it was a tough one. That was the first game we saw Sean Johnson, Tomato Martin back again. It was when Shawnee came back off his Achilles injury. And obviously all the big talk was like, Tomato was going so well at 7. Should we bring Shawnee back? And unfortunately it came up against Melbourne and we got dusted. So I think, we changed a lot of boys back out again and just didn't come to avail. It was, poor.
I think the forward pack too got like quite dominated from what I remember. I just felt in Melbourne, the speed and all those things, and it's no surprise they are where they are. But Ty, man, make of this game. I mean, just quickly before you get in, I was thinking this kind of the game where they kind of flipped it on its head. They went with Tamati still as a halfback, but Sean was kind of playing as a 5'8", and in a way it kind of bombed. But what was your recollection of that period of time, bro?
Yeah, so I remember previous to that, I remember me and Tans were like, oh, no, this will work. I think this will work. Obviously, would love to see actually Tamati. I was like, I want to see Tamati actually play it out, but if Sean Johnson's coming back, hopefully they can just get the ratio right in terms of who gets the ball. And, the first, I think it was, again, those first 20 minutes, it kind of seemed that way we're doing it. What I remember is that we started dropping a lot of high balls, and that's where it started going. We started making mistakes, and I think once the mistakes started mounting, when you're playing a team like Melbourne, especially when they've got a lot of their players and Penrith, you have to be kind of close to perfect, especially just trying to get out of your thing, let alone, being in your own area and losing their ball. So I think once that started happening and they got their way into the contest, I think that's when it started getting tricky. In terms of that, I haven't reviewed the game properly to say if it was the right decision to bring him back early. But I just felt that with the weeks that had happened before, there was no rush. So if he was still injured at that time, there's no thing I could think of. If he was still injured at the time, would have loved to have seen him just stay out a bit longer and just kind of get that to full health. But we were on a winning streak, so why not just keep at it and see what happens. So that's all I remember.
Couple of more points too. Rocco got injured in this game. 37 minutes he only played in this one, so he was an injury as well.
Right,
which I forgot. Yeah, and from memory, we started really well, and the tide changed with the Jerome Hughes penalty off the kick. And Eli Katoa had that crossfield kick, and Eli Katoa, I think Pompey came down with the ball and Eli stripped it out of his hands and scored that try. And that was the moment that just shifted everything. And it seemed like the boys, again, that's the mentality thing I think we spoke about a little bit too this season. It felt like we carried our divots a little bit. When things didn't go our way, I think the boys' heads went down instead of using it as a challenge. And I think we saw that a lot of our key members this year. So, but I remember there was a couple of odd calls there too. Like, yeah, there was a couple of moments where it was just like our hands were going up. Remember, we were like that late before the sin bins, there was just nothing going our way. I think they had a knock on that didn't get called to. We put a kick down their edge. I think it was Grant Anderson knocked the ball on, and they picked it up and kept going, and we didn't get the call. Yeah, it was one of those sort of games. But yeah, I just remember that Tomato Martin, Sean Johnson thing that started there where Shawnee was playing more 6, you know, out the back of shape, and it just didn't really work. And the defense, just 7 tries we let in. Like that's not good enough.
Yeah,
I'm also you know, if it ain't broke, you know, just leave it alone. But I think, I don't know, I think it's a bit of a mental thing too, especially when we play the Storm, because we've just had such a bad run against them. And I don't know if I've said this on our live side, but I'm like, man, is it like, I don't know how to say, are we intimidated by them in a sense because we haven't been able to put one over them in such a long period of time? And I think, you know, when we play them and they get if you know, we're doing really well, but then as soon as they put points on us, it kind of, you know, our mentality just changes. And I think it just, yeah, I just think it gets us down. You know, they're like, oh shit. But that's what I think anyway. I think in a sense we're intimidated by the Storm because we haven't been able to defeat them for
there was psychological. There's always been that psychological.
Psychological. Yeah.
Until we get that win over them, it's just like they will always hold it over us. And I think it plays into their hands as well. They're like, nah, we still got the Warriors number. And they see their confidence just shoot up. Like they'll take away from us and they're like, nah, we got them now. And it was like they took a big hit from us, a big wave, and then they just unloaded like all that pressure back on us, and we just couldn't handle it. You know, I think it's
because we broke their hearts at that 2011 semi-final or whatever. And I think from like the one thing I always remember, it's like one of those biggest like bogey calls over here from Australian media. But every time we play the Melbourne Storm, it always gets brought up. Oh, well, the Warriors are usually a bogey side to the Melbourne Storm. I was like, it hasn't been that for like how long now? Like it always gets brought up. It's like we always play the best. Like we always get like the Melbourne Storm never played well against us. Like the 72-4 or whatever victory they had how many years ago should have told you that hasn't been that for a long time now. But yeah, I don't know. The Australian media always spins it as we're the bogey side for some reason. It just hasn't been for a while now.
I think the truth there is that when we play them in the playoffs, we're the bogey side. Until
story. In the big stage, baby.
I think I questioned myself this season. I was like, do they actually do video work? Like, because I'm like, when they say video work, who are they doing it on, themselves or the other team? Because I just was like, mate, do you watch videos of the other team? Like, do they? Surely, I mean,
no, they do.
Right?
They do, but yeah, just execution of it.
That kick from Jerome Hughes, the one that Ali Carr taught, I was just like, oh, hell no.
You got caught a lot by that type of kick. Pompey actually struggled, has struggled with that type, and it's something we kind of haven't addressed.
100%. I don't know how many tries we've had put on us because of those damn bombs, and Montoya and Pompey just can't catch the ball. That does not. I mean, that's obviously something that they have to work on during the preseason, depending who's in those positions.
Okay, let's keep it moving, mate. This is the old Devils game.
Do we need to touch on it or
what? Let's do it because kind of yeah, like we kind of started off okay, like the first 10 minutes at least. But then it just unloaded. Pereira goes over, Fermor, Randall, Palacia. Oh, what he got 4? No, Pereira got 4 in this. This was a really alarming 11 from 11 conversions for Campbell. As insane.
I watched this live, bro. It was a disgrace, and I think it was after this. I saw some poor efforts from some of our biggest members of our team, and like this is the first moment I started to look at Adam Finnell-Blake, and I was like, you know, I know when the Fisher Harris like thing happened, that's when the form wasn't as great as what it had been in the past. And in this one, like I know like statistically, like it doesn't come up as a missed tackle and that, but just the moments to cover, like, you know, to link from our edges and that, I had my best mate pointing it out. Like it just wasn't willing to make that, like, you know, connect from with our edge and just allowing just holes everywhere. And like then like when we go back to like score to try, it just was no one was standing together. Like he was standing so far away from everyone. I don't even think he went to the fan meetup after the game, which I didn't get to go to, but I heard he didn't even go to that. Like that was the game where I was completely off. I was like, I thought that was a disgrace. Like I understand when things get hard, but that's where I think with this team this season, it just feels like that we carry our divots, but like our leaders that were there last year either digressed a little bit, injuries played into it, and just weren't there for people to turn and look at. I think we were missing Barney in this game, which is a big one, and 60 points got put on us. Like, bro.
This is another game too where like C&K, I felt like broke down. Remember he had like a few drop balls, and I was like, I felt like that was like kind of like you could tell that whatever C&K's been through, or it just kind of wasn't clicking from this season. I don't know, I had a random thought there. There was the RTS silly sin bin that should never have been a sin bin. But yeah, this was like for me the signs of Tohu, like something is not right. You know, like actually the attitude. It was all attitude, but also Tohu just couldn't move. He couldn't move with the pack of Titans. That was just like too quick. You know, it was too far, and the Keanu Kinney's just popping up, just destroy. It was like we just got blown off the park. Well, we did, but like it just really was powerful how they beat us. Like it felt scary. Like I was literally scared. Like, whoa, okay, I was not expecting that. Like this is terrifying. Everyone started questioning, were we that good? You know, it's all that kind of. You start to doubt yourself when you have one of these types of, you know, really, really bad games.
I had a feeling that one, even though they were like at the bottom, because weren't they at the bottom at that point? I'm sure they were like last on the ladder at that point of the season. And I actually thought, like I think they're gonna beat us and I think we've all said it. You know, every Warriors content creator has said it this year, and fans that we lack speed hugely. We lack speed, and that's where they killed us, man, on those edges.
Yeah,
Luffy and Brian Kelly. Is it Brian Kelly and Luffy Camperera? Yeah, they just are mad. They are.
See, for me, like watching it live, like our middles just didn't turn up. Like, so I had my best mate that like, he's awesome at footy. But anyway, he was the one pointing it out to me. He was like, your middles are just not working, bro. Like they're not moving up. And every time you watch it, like if you go back to your Fox, if you want to, go back to your Fox League and see some of the tries we let in. There was one that legit, I go back to Adam Finnell-Blake leaves probably about a 10-meter gap between Tohu that tried to cover on our edge. And he just didn't even look like he wanted to get in on Keanu Kinney. We had Adam Pompey that didn't even look like he wanted to get his body in front in a line run from Beau Fermor. That was right in front of me. And like, just our edges were not connecting with our middles. Our middles weren't pushing our edges out. So it's going to be beaten for speed all day, right? Like if our middle forwards aren't pushing our edges out, our edges are not going to cover on the wing. I wanted to hide. Like it was like part of like what, 20,000, like, you know, last time we versed the Titans at Seabus, our Warriors fans turned out and it was kind of like, bro, like, fuck.
It's just quickly, there was a lot of silence. I was there because Ash was at the thing, and I was on the watch. Like I was like dead quiet for like half an hour. For me, I'm like not one of those guys that, you know, go lash out pretty much. And I wanted to do something physical, but I just sat there. I think Ty actually jumped on and tried to console me after the game. Shout out, it was the worst watch along at the end. There was no communication. Like I wasn't saying anything.
It's bad.
But I just want to touch on there too, because I think like from memory, it was like some of the boys just weren't moving over and covering. And I
Nah.
think you touched on us on another game, Levon, where, is it that we need some more mobile forwards in the middle way? Because I think part of it is are we too big and too old in some cases. And I think that game was a bit of an exposing of that, and whether that's body and age or whether that's mentality, they don't want to cover or they don't want to get over. I don't know, but yeah, it just felt like our middles, they got exposed, and then
Dylan got exposed on it. Remember, Dylan was playing back row and he kind of just couldn't move laterally.
he wasn't moving laterally.
Oh,
And I think that was like we're missing Barnett in that game, and I think that was the big key one where I started looking. It's like, I think Barnett's our leader now. Like, no one else out there is talking to each other. Everyone was just like looking and going. There was like Shawnee was like, people were screaming at each other, but then like the boys there was no reaction. Everyone just stood there just like, eh. It was just like, oh, so you just want to turn up like this at the Gold Coast? Where like, most of our fans, like we have a major fan base in the Gold Coast that turn out. Yeah. It was just like, it was the most frustrating. I think Fanatics was there too, right?
Yeah, I was there, and it was just the whole vibe and hype going into the game, because like I was at the pre-game meetup down there in the Sporting Globe, and there was a lot of Warriors supporters there, and I thought like with the energy of the Warriors fans there at the game, and I thought it was going to help us get across the line, and then the way we started, it was just. Oh man, it was so frustrating. It was embarrassing because it was like the players. It felt like the players, their attitudes and mindsets, they weren't there. Like they weren't even on the field.
Gave up.
That's the way I felt about that game because, everything they did, the Titans, they exposed us from the outside backs. Cam Pereira, was on fire, and that's what I mean. Like, and then at halftime, the Warriors supporters, the Warriors supporters in the Bay, a lot of them actually left. I think a lot of them actually left at halftime. Some that left, I stayed, of course. Being a Law fan, I stayed to the bitter end. But a lot of the fans, it was all quiet. It was the Warriors fans were stunned themselves because they couldn't believe it. And I was shocked too.
Yeah, I don't think anyone could believe it. That was I can't even believe thinking about it. I can't even believe I watched that whole game. But because you always have that, you think, no, because if I turn it off, and even if you do, you're going to turn it back on 2 minutes later just to see, oh shit, maybe we scored a couple of tries. But I can't believe I watched that whole game. But I honestly was sitting there like a stunned mullet. I was just staring at the TV screen like, what the hell is going on? I don't even think I said anything.
It was Ghost of the Past. That's what it was. It honestly felt like Ghost of the Past.
It was scary.
But even the Bo try, he just ran like no one even stuck an arm out.
Yeah, Bumpy legit didn't even try. I was like, what are you doing?
I'm sure there were like 5 defenders right there. And he just, that try just, that got me that one.
We'll move on from that trauma.
Let's go back.
This is actually a kind of a turning point. So I think after this, they actually rested SJ, and they went back to Mighty and CHT. Now, just quickly to cap off that thing with Sean and Tamani, it just didn't work. And I think me and Ash were like, "No, this could work. Actually, we're the same as you guys, Ty." We were like, "No, this could technically, hypothetically work." Again, it just kind of pieced together that those two just didn't click. And then it kind of led into going back to TMM and CHT, and we get the Broncos at home, and then we get back to another solid win. CHT went over, Tamati went over, Chanel went over again. Then they kind of had a little comeback. They had that disallowed try. It kind of still felt a little bit shaky, maybe. Mariner scores 51 minutes. Then Roderick went over with that kick that I remember that one that CHT put through. Scores, and Lussick went over. Pompey 3 of 6, so not the best of nights. And then Chanel kicked the penalty. The Pompey must have went off again.
6 minutes.
So CNK.
No, he played the 80.
Oh, okay, maybe he was just wasn't they changed kicker?
Maybe.
Hey, Nick, saw your comment there, bro. We might address that later on if you're hanging around. Marcelo, Chanel, so Barney came back from Origin, I think, at that time.
Yep.
Was it Origin 3 or was it Origin 2? Maybe I don't know.
Origin 2.
Okay,
from memory.
you played back. You played like I think he came straight back in.
I
Morata
think the
came
Raiders
well.
game was Origin 3. So
That's right.
yeah,
he was
around
just-
that range.
Yeah.
That
Dills,
game was at home. It was here in Auckland.
yeah. So home in Auckland. Yep.
Yeah.
Forward on the bench. Tohu was on the bench. Lusick and Jazz. Yeah. Anyone thoughts on this game? Just I thought it was a pretty solid performance. Yeah.
I thought Timoide shone in this game. I thought
He was
I thought he was really good. His little kicks, his little grubbers in the end goal. I thought he was good. Yeah, I actually thought it was quite a good game comparatively compared to what we had played previously. I thought this was a really good game, but I think it was one of Timoide's. Like just to see what he could do when he was, running the show. And I think he played a really good game.
And that was too when Barnett came in, and I felt like Barnett still solidifying himself as that kind of captain or lead by example type player. Another one where he kind of you felt solid with Barnett kind of in the team.
And this was a desperate Broncos side coming into this one too, from memory. So they went on a losing streak. They lost to the Titans, then they lost to the Sharks, they lost to the Rabbitohs, and then they came over to us, and everyone was like, "Oh, maybe this is a game they can get back on us." And then we end up, doing a number. Tamati Martin with like 3 big try assists in this one. His kicking options were there. That grubber in behind for Roger Tuivasa-Sheck was really, really nice. Like there was a lot of really good moments in that one. Yeah, Freddie Lussick. But we did the watch along on this, and even though that had that little bit of a shaky moment, like you could go watch the receipts and a watch along, like we looked dominant in that game, and I didn't have that second guess. A lot of fans sort of were like, that we got shaky and the Broncos could have had it over us, but the whole game I kind of was just like, you could just see like it was just working, like everything you can tell the difference. Like there's other games where you can kind of go, oh, the wheels are falling off, but in this one it just felt like that we never really had it lost. It was always there. The boys just pulled the right strings, and I felt like we came home really, really strong to end up putting a 32-16 victory on. So good victory.
Yep. Any other thoughts on that one?
Sorry, go. No.
Go, Tons. Anyone else? Yep.
I just think when we had somebody at the forefront, I just think everything was more fluid. Because I don't think he plays this really structured footy. Like I just don't think he's just not that type of player. And I think the team just likes that, because when he's up there, that everyone just kind of flows off one another. That's what I saw anyway when he was the dominant half anyway. And I just love it how he also takes a dab at the line where he takes a run. He just does this different stuff all the time. He's not scared to just take a chance and either run with the ball or kick the ball or, set up a nice pass. So, yeah.
Well, this is the point where we were undefeated with Tamati Martin at 7, and I really come down to I really feel like that he gave confidence to a lot of the boys around him because he used them in a different way to what SJ did. I think the boys defensively in that period, again, I touched on a couple of stats. We actually had a top 5 defensive time with Tamati Martin at number 7. Than what we had when SJ was at number 7, and we had one of the best attacking, a top 5 type of attack in the comp when we had Tamati Martin in the 7 than when we had SJ. The points per game, we were scoring upwards of 26 points per game with Tamati Martin at 7. When SJ was in there, we're at 18. So it's a night and day difference there. So whether SJ's injuries and what came out have hampered that a little bit, and Tamati just for fresh legs and just that gunslinger, it probably gave us confidence in both ends of the field, I do feel.
100%. And he might have set up the whole, he played the whole field. What I mean by that is left and right, and all the players, everyone was involved. And I just think when SJ was on, it was all, and we know it was always to the right, but when Timoide is on, he's just, that ball's just getting moved around. And out to the left, and CHT took care of that really well as well. But I just think in this game, Timoide really shone in this game, and hopefully take more of that into next season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to make a quick comment. I saw someone commented around this around regular practice together too. I actually also thought with Timothy Martin and Chanel, obviously coming into the season, they probably were thinking they were going to just play in New South Wales for much of the year.
Exactly.
So I think they had a bit more, it looked like chemistry together too out there as well. So
Yeah,
I thought
Cup
that
Day
was
was pretty
awesome.
good together. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
That's a good thought, bro. A good thought.
Hey, yeah, man. This is coming into this is actually season's still in the balance here. If I can remember, we're still out of the 8 points differential. I think we started to gain some back. Like it still wasn't like it was like minus maybe 50, 40, and I think it was like we could still peel this back. But this next 3 weeks is just, I think, really pivotal, and kind of changed. It turned the season pretty much. These 3 games, and if you reflect on them, but this one here, Bulldogs, 13-12 at a core. Bronson Sherry scores, and Kikau, and we scored 2 early in the second half. Early in the first half, Dallin and Montoya. Pompey 1 from 2 with a penalty. And then obviously the Matt Burton drop goal in the 87th minute. Yep. Just quickly, team list. It was Chance, Roger, back in the centres, Pompey, Chanel and Tamari. Not much unchanged. That's probably the first. That's Newcourt and Cape Well, Dylan. Freddie off the bench, Jazz, Jackson Ford, and Leka Halasima. This was the first time we've seen Leka's debut, so which was amazing. Which is actually one of my favorite moments of the season, to be honest. But let's break this one down, because if we remember, it had Montoya and who was the other wing? Was it Dallin? They both got off. Or was it? I can't remember who.
Yep, it's like a complete back line. We had no Dell, no Chance, no Marcelo.
Marcelo went off as well. Yeah, second half.
I think Bompy went off. Right, we had to cover because we had to cover 2 centers. Right, I think Capewell and Lecker played centers at the end of that game.
That's right. Yeah, and Lecker got that beautiful break down the almost got that beautiful try, but Cherry got that nice tackle. I thought it was a good game. I actually think, even though like we got slammed with injuries, I just thought, we really,
we stuck it out in that game. It was good.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the best games. That was. Yeah,
that was probably our best defensive intensity games that we've seen too. I felt like every shot that we put on was hard. Everything was like the boys went out there and wanted to win. And it honestly came down to injuries, and also we started to find the finishing touches as into, because we had that many different halves combinations to get the victory at the end. Just wasn't there. But defensively, I want to point out the Bronson Sherry try came off an intercept. So that was our own attacking thing, and the Viliami kick-out try came off a kick. So there was nothing off shape. There was no massive big moments of shape breaking us apart. I think defensively that was probably one of our strongest games that we had this season. It was great.
Yeah, it was a great game. And Lecker's injection, and he played center. You mentioned it. But let's just break down, because this game, upon reflection, was very important. Obviously the Salmon one, where he hit the mine. That's when I really started to take issue with the bunker and sort of leading. It kind of felt like that was the first one where I felt no, you've actually intentionally tried to manipulate the game.
100%.
And that's where my review of that game was, I was always just call the game fair. And it was 5 minutes to go. They could have scored, but it's just there was moments like that. They swallow the whistle and they don't want to do anything. And I said, you better not apologize the next day, because that tells me that, because they had 5 minutes to look at that. Both players were down. And I was you apologize. You just pretty much said, we knew it was wrong, but we didn't want to call it because of the significance of that moment. But yeah, Ty, man, what was your read on that whole situation? I mean, the golden point was from our perspective, it was pretty poor. We had no preparation, I felt, and the pressure to put CHT under that spot maybe, and you add that into. We'll talk about the next few, but what was your recollection, bro, of that one?
Yeah, just what you've already touched on. This was for me too. That moment where we were like, oh, these refs or this bunker, it's starting to get on the skin here, especially when you consider kind of player safety in that moment too.
Yep.
He broke his jaw. Something happened. Really, really quite severe, and again. There was no reaction to it. I wish we could just cut Mahoney's finger off. I think they would have got us home.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
that's all it was.
Chanel
that's all
had that one. Yeah.
But yeah, so we were right there, and I think just going back a little bit, you guys talked about defensively that was best game. I agree, and just like for me as a fan, I just want to see that effort and attitude every week. Obviously we want to get the fine things right so we get the results, but I feel like for me that's just in game. Like I feel like I could fight about the bunker stuff because the boys play good with what they
Yeah,
did,
exactly.
right? When they don't play good, you're like, I don't know if I can fight for that that one call given the whole game that you just played. So it was one of those games where I felt we've got to back these boys up and actually try and call out what the bunker did. The only two things I would say, and this is me being probably hypercritical here, is that one, hey boys, we got two backs going off injured. Can one of you guys just walk on and knock your head so then we can get the 18th man on or something?
Right. We had that a couple of times.
The calls didn't work out in the end, so you might as well just not rigged. Played the game at the start and got Tane on. I think he was the 18th man at the time. And then I think secondly, previously, and this is me being really hypercritical, but Tane had a really good kicking game. I think this was one of the games where his kicks didn't go everywhere he wanted it to go. So that could have maybe changed that outlook in terms of our attack. But other than that, the boys played with a lot of effort and attitude, and I was happy with that.
Yeah, we had the Chanel Harris DeVita no look pass too. That could have been something. Remember that? It was overrated. There's a couple of missed moments where it was like, it could have happened. But one player I want to shout out in this one is Barney came back for the Broncos game in this one. In this one, 226 meters, 86 post contact with 56 tackles in this game. Like the amount of work, the leader in the middle, same as Ads too. He went 223. This is when Ads came back to it. And 27 tackles for him. But Barnett, 56 tackles and all those run meters, showed out his experience and the leadership we needed. And same with Capewell, 126 in this one. It was where Capewell started to turn a little bit again. Like we were touching on it just before. This is where Capewell, he started to come into his own.
The thing about this game is that we were the better team that night. I think even with all our injuries, I just think we performed. I thought, we were the better team. We just those damn kicks, man. And that's all it was that let us down was our kicking game. If we had that on point, we probably would have won. And that hit on Salmon. I agree with you, Levon. I think the bunker did us dirty there, without a doubt. But that's one thing I've noticed about the NRL is when they get this thing about what teams they want to see in the finals, and I think that about last year too. But anyway, I just think when they had
even us the Manly game. Remember how Chan's got the knees taken out? What was it? Remember that one? Maybe they gave us that one. I don't know. You could have said that too. I don't know.
Well, true. Actually, I'll stop where I am now. But that's
but they're making up calls. You're right. They're making up calls to to get certain results. Maybe
there's more I want to touch on too a little bit later on as well. There's a couple more that come up later where it's obviously the Stephen Crichton one we'll get to as well, but we had a couple of sin bins and stuff like that was just how are they sin bins? But then we had one where it should have been a sin bin getting its ass, but it didn't happen. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Great point.
Yeah.
But looking back on it, if we get these two games, we'll talk about the next one as well. That would have changed the complexion of.
It would.
At least make finals. Not to say we would have gone to win the grand final. I don't think but it would have changed. Maybe us getting in the grand finals. Okay, we have a bye, which is great because I imagine if we'd gone straight in, it would have been a Friday night game. We would have gone into played the Raiders away. We got hammered. Just another golden point type game. So we had the bye. Then we go to GIO in Canberra, and this one here. I remember this is the one you're talking about where Barnett came back off of Origin, and he started. I think. Kate Well, Hudson Young, and it went over twice early. Like, it felt like, oh no, the defense has gone back to really bad. But we kind of got back in the game. RTS scores 37th minute. Kate Well went over, and Barnett went over, and so we had the lead. I think at that point, Savage scores in the 70th, and Faneuil Blake scores in the 72. So on tries, we scored more. Now this is another game. Pompey got injured, I think.
Yep.
And
it's where Chanel had to step up.
It's where Chanel had to step up, and we know what happened there. Sorry, Chanel. The Leia Toa came in that game. Roger was at the wing.
He had to get pushed to fullback because Tane got injured 8 minutes in.
And more. Yeah, Tane got HIA'd.
Pompey got his knee injury in this game too.
Barnett and that, like, they just looked tired. They come back and they gave their best. Pompey got his knee injury. Lussick, Jackson Ford, Tavanga, and Leka. Leka played a little bit too, I think. Fanatics, what was your read on this one, man? Do you solely put it down to CHT's kicking being the difference, or what went wrong?
Look, I wouldn't put the blame on CHT. I know he copped a bit of stick after the game. A lot of comments were I think were not on. Obviously the kicks, you've got to get the kicks, but it was tough for him. It was a tough game for him, of course. It was a tough game, and I think Webby, when I go back on the press conference and what Webby said post game, that he said that pretty much his, I think it was the slow start, it really killed us. I think that's the thing he stated in the press conference, and I actually agreed with what Webby said. It was the slow start that really killed us in the game, and I know people will look at the goal kicking at the end of it and say it's the goal kicking and put the blame on CHT, but I think putting the blame on CHT after that game, I think, was a bit over the top, in my opinion. It was a game where we hanged in there, but just not good enough in the end, because obviously we scored 4 tries. We scored more tries than the Raiders, 4 tries, but unfortunately the goal kicking, yes, but that wasn't the reason why we lost. I think it was just down to the poor start.
It was poor.
Saying that Chanel wasn't even. He was like the third. He wasn't even the third choice kicker, I think. So
counting after all these, he was the 5th choice kicker, or fifth choice.
Because didn't he have to kick the following week? Didn't he kick the following week as well?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he had one kick late.
That's when I got angry the following week, because I was like, well, you saw him kick last week. Why are you putting him in charge of kicking duties this week when you just saw the outcome of that last week? I found that really frustrating, and I found that was a real stupid move. I mean, I just thought surely someone else can kick a goal. But, I think that was frustrating. That annoyed me.
Yeah, this is the moment I called CHT out. I said I was going to meet him at the airport. He got hiding.
It got brought up. I love it.
Yeah,
good receipts.
Me and Ash did that watch along, and we were just, oh man.
You remember it though, like the start was poor, right?
No, the start was poor. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is that I don't blame him for the loss, but in the moment where you had, like, the game was there to be won.
It was. Yeah.
It could have been won. In that moment. That's all I will say. But you can always lead it back. You can always lead back step back to previous things. But in that moment, it was too big for him. And it got to his head. That first kick, it was then the first, the second, and the third. It got worse. In fact, if I was a coach, I would have just said Dylan Walker, or who's on there, right?
Yeah, somebody.
Yeah. It's just my only thing to that is, like, bro, like, the only other guy that we could probably put up there is Mitch Barnett.
Yeah,
and that he hasn't kicked since, like, because even at the Knights, KP started taking over, so I don't think he kicked a goal since 2018, around that period. I think it was pre-COVID.
what I actually probably think that is linked to is that the unfortunateness of injuries, where you get into a fifth choice kicker in a mid game, and to be honest, that's what you get. You know, you not to be stink to CHT, but in this aspect, you pay for what you get. You know, you get what you pay for. Like that's our own fault. For like, well, you know,
it's like, well, you think about it too. Like, you had Tane at fullback to start the game, who's our other kicker, and Adam Pompey, and they both got injured in that same game.
It's just unfortunate, the luck of how the things fall and what they say, you know, how. But it's really sad. You just wished and prayed that he could have got one of them, and it might have been
exactly.
And but again, that I do agree with Phoenix. It got turned over way too much, like way too much. It was ridiculous what was being done, and the blame put on him. But that's my.
Well, there's a couple of points too. Like, you know, lastly on this part of the game too, the start was poor. I think we noted very early on that I think the one thing I questioned with Webby on this one was him playing Barnett and Capewell in the starting lineup after Origin. I think they came back of Origin, came back in, and it looked like they started flat. They came out in the second half and they had a second juice to them. Like they looked like they were coming home. But the Hudson Young double, it was like, oh, boys, come on, like defensively we're falling apart. Then we had to mix and match our lineup. I think Roger had to go to fullback. We came home strong. We went bang, 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 hit like 3 tries, with unanswered tries. And then Roger had that moment where Savage, the kick got put in behind. All Roger had to do was put it dead. And he didn't. And Xavier Savage went and scored a try and put him back out again. Like, there was a lot of other moments where we could have just came home with the win. Like, we were leading at that point there. And we end up lost it. So it wasn't just on CHT. It was a team sort of thing. But obviously, CHT kind of amplified what was going on with us, where injuries and all that mix and matching kind of just came to a head, and we end up losing this game, scoring more tries. It's just, frustrating.
Okay, yep. And I think, again, that was kind of another cut in the road of us making fight. Like, it kind of felt like another barrier. And it's a story of our season, like kind of the whole dynamic of it. We kind of always went back to, we just could never ultimately close out these games, but we come back home and we do a great job against the Tigers, you know, as we should. Capewell goes over. I think Capewell really had to start to get solid. Kossi, Leia Taula. It was a good first half because we didn't let them score, I think, in the first half. Then they scored 2 tries, and Fanil Blake went over, and then Dallin went over. And CHT, probably being the only kicker, he did kick 3 out of 5 and a penalty goal as well. So technically 4 out of 6. But it was a much better performance. Roger went to the fullback. That's the game where everyone was really questioning, like, should Roger have been the fullback over CNK? From what I remember, Ali and Graham MGT really had solid games. And just back to a good performance, obviously against the Wooden Spooners, but like a performance that we should have beaten them. I think Leka may have got injured in this game, or he didn't play. I can't remember if you guys remember that one. He was on the bench.
He played 9 minutes. I think he played late. It was real late. Yep.
But I know he kind of, and if you're noticing, probably since the Dolphins game, Bunty R4 hasn't featured. I really was interested to see what happened. They did have a clear cutoff. Like, it's almost like they decided that they're going maybe with more youth with Leka. Maybe that was the point in where they maybe decided, like, okay, we're going to bring these guys in now, because you can kind of see Bunty just doesn't feature. Oh, sorry, we missed it. It's probably like the earlier games, Dolphins, but yeah, he just. That's why I forgot that he'd been playing all these first games. You know. Yeah. Get the job done. But yeah, quickly just on this one, guys. Overall thoughts. Anyone can jump in.
I'm just wondering if this is like in regards to what you just said about Bunty. You know, I was just because remember, like halfway, or this is when fans started making a lot of noise about the lineups every week, and And then I think Webby got asked in maybe a not a post-match game, but just about why you're consistently choosing the same lineup. And I'm wondering if that's why he started towards the back end of the season, started pushing out players and bringing in, because that's when we see Leka come in, and then further on we see Dimitri come in. So I'm just wondering if he heard all that outside noise and, you know, having a go because of this consistency around. Yeah, I just thought I'd put that out there.
There's an interesting thing, and I'm not sure if everyone would agree on me with this, but there were parts of the season where you see Webby's trying to figure things out.
Yeah.
So, for example, was the Sean into Mighty. How can I make this work? Because I need to get Sean in this. It felt like it was like I'm forcing Sean in because he's the Delhi, or should have been Delhi M player. How do I make this work?
Yeah.
Okay. How can I get Jackson Ford to be a front rower? How can I move? So it was like, you might disagree with me. Maybe he did listen to the outside noise, or it could have been internal. I don't know. But it did feel at times that he was reacting as opposed to sticking solid to what the steps
the process.
were.
Yeah. That was worried me a little bit about it. Yeah,
just a little bit. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, because like when you look at it, like we dropped Marcelo at that Knights game, and then he ended up killing in a cup, and injuries had to force him back into the lineup.
Yeah,
from memory, we dropped. Well, Kurt Cable got injured, then came back, dropped him to the bench. Tohu got dropped to the bench because performances too when he came back with injury and that. We had Jackson Ford starting to left, go to the right, then come off the bench, then play front row in the middle, and then not see him then due to injury. The chop and change through the amount of halves combinations too. Like I felt like there was moments where he tried to do it, but like I think that 4-game period mid the season where it did feel like a lot of the same people were sticking to the same lineups. I think a lot of fans stuck onto that of like, you know, Webby's not changing anything. But like I think it got to a point where he had to start changing things, and he did. But like fans kind of just got sick of, you know what I mean? I don't know. That was just my thoughts of it. But yeah,
which is scary because like I think what we're ultimately trying to say is that we want our coach we want him to adapt, but we do want him to be solid even with the noise around you. Because me and you always talk about Ash, like the you know, as soon as you start listening to the fans, you're going to be sitting with them. You know, pretty much.
Yeah, it's Wayne Bennett's best quote.
I felt there was a little bit of him kind of like sitting in the stands this season, but I mean, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Me and Ash were doing like, you know, reviews of every videos, and then he'd make that change the next week. But I was almost like, no, don't listen to me, or you know, I don't know. But I was thinking, don't listen to us. Like, stick to what you think. But it felt
I disagree. I see it in our Warrior A tie. I see it in one of our podcasts. I was like, bro, he should just listen to the fans sometimes because I don't understand some of the shit he does. And I think it was Damien. He was like, no, you can't listen. I was like, why? I was like, sometimes I think, you know, we're looking from the outside in.
Yeah.
But
that's the thing.
No, but what I mean by that sounds is like he should have made the change, but it felt scary that it was almost like he was reacting to us, which was
response
to
it.
I feel like a coach should be solid. Like I respect the fans, but I know what I'm doing. You know, like you know what I mean. Instead of like it felt like I'm gonna try and blame Sean into Mitre to become this amazing. Like kind of it felt like he was trying to figure things out, and I just think
sorry. I think it's just frustrating when you see 5 games down the track and it's still not working. I think that's clear evidence that you need to change something. But I mean, I think this is a fantastic lesson for him. He would have learned so much this year, just about what players suit one another. You know what doesn't. So anyway, sorry, I just go off on these.
I want to touch on it too because I think, like you want coaches to stick solid and you know what is their not just their game plans, but in terms of their strategy, right? Because if you're going to listen to all the outside noise, you're just going to constantly react. I personally kind of also thought he, obviously everyone talks about him being like a players type coach, I felt sometimes he allowed the players to make more decisions than him making the decisions. And I know it's a bit of a hard one to kind of make, but I use that Sean Johnson one as an example because I might have heard it wrong when he was talking about it in his podcast, but he talked about, where we allowed him to like make that decition whether he should come back at that time or not. And I felt like, bro, you just put your foot down like, I don't need you this week,
Unfortunately, it's like it's a hierarchy sort of thing, right? So like, you look at the Melbourne Storm, they went on that little streak where they were killing it with Wishart at 6, but as soon as Munster gets back healthy, unfortunately, it's just like Munster's going to get that 6 jersey, bro. Like he's the highest paid player. It's not just the coach in that point of view too. You also got your higher ups that are like, I'm paying him probably about 800K that you're just going to sit in New South Wales Cup. Like, what are we doing? I feel like the same thing kind of happened. I know we sat AFB out for that week or whatever, but I think a lot of it was also like, AFB is $1 million player. Like we're not going to drop AFB if he's having poor performances. Like, there's a lot of that as well. And I think that's a little bit where like, the fans probably like, they see, obviously they want like, they see this guy perform and all that, but they also got to stand as like, there's a little bit more to it. You know what I mean? There's like, Sean Johnson's on this big money. Also, like Shawnee had that Daily M year, and like there's a lot going into it. And like, I feel like he learnt a lot this season. I think, I think this is a transition period from that, like that era before Sean Johnson, things going wrong, up and down, and now going into this new era where he's got a lot of players that probably haven't got as much of the ego and carry the big weight of money in the side now that what we had this year, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Like, just quickly, let's preface as well, like, this was supposed to be the last year, and then it was going to go into 2025 was like more of this is the era, this is a new era with development. And maybe we think, I'm maybe going to give Weeby credit here and say that what he got out of this group with, Sean and AFB and everything around it was maybe the best he could. But you started to see some of the cracks started to, he was holding them together all last year. He got, but then some of the cracks, like we say, contracts, like even me, sometimes RTS being played, I know people will disagree with me, but I felt like that was like more so a club signing. I don't know if it was technically a Webby signing for me. I know that would be different. So yeah, I got to play RTS now, but really I should, Pompey and Berry with my guys that got me through to where I was. So it's just like you're saying, he's got to deal with all the stuff in the background where the pressure is like, you play, Cameron George's like, bro, I pay Adam 20,000 a week, and he's sitting on, what are you doing?
It can't be. You got to be back in the lineup.
You got to get him back in there. So there's all that type of stuff, and I just think it just all kind of slowly fell apart this year. And just like, he's trying to put out fires, like, oh yeah,
Well, that's what I'm excited for next year, right? Like, as I keep saying, like, I don't mean it in a bad way, but we lose a lot of ego out of our side now, right? Like, SJ, for what he was, like, he's one of our best players that we've produced, right? But, like, SJ obviously carries he is one of our better players. We got to kind of, like, he is one of the legends of the club. I think when, like, it comes to the fact of, like, maybe I want to go out doing like this, we go, all right, we'll play you out so you can. Like, you put yourself in those spots, you go out and do it. Like, you've given that to us or whatever. Ads is the same thing. Like, Nathan Brown had that same squad. Like, I know it was around COVID squad, but he still had Adam Fidel, Blake, Sean Johnson, all these big pieces, and we're bottom 2. So, or bottom 3. I think we ended that year too. So, it's like, with the pieces that he had to put together with, like, Tohu probably on his last leg soon. Like, all the big money ego players are gone now, and we brought in more team unit players. Like, Kate Bell's more of a team unit player. I'd say probably argue Rogers more like individual type, but still. And obviously Fisher Harris is probably the best, team prop in the competition, like system prop in the competition, right? I was doing this sort of thing too. Sorry, going a little tangent, but like I was doing of like, naming our, Daily M props of the year this year. There's a strong argument people could put up Barnett and AFB could be props of the year. There is a strong, like statistically, they are one of the best props combination of the year. But where did it get us, right? Like you look at the Broncos, they got Payne Haas, where are they sitting? Like you look at the Raiders, they got Tarpanet, where's they sitting? But you see some of the best teams that are a unit of like Panthers, those two boys grew together. Melbourne, they didn't have a devastating, like Nas was out half the season. So like maybe it's better to not have these big spearheaded players like that and just play as a team. You know what I mean? We learned that this year.
I 100% agree, Ash. I think, in regards to Mitch Barnett and AFB, I think they're probably the best next to the Fish and Moses Leota. I think they're probably the most dominant prop pairing in the competition. Even though we came in at 13th, but like I see on Instagram, like what's his name, Clarkie's column, and like teams of the week and everything, it's always got Mitch Barnett and AFB in there.
AFB,
and almost every list that I see him put up or other ones, it's always got our two props in that team list. So I think that's awesome. A nice acknowledgement of the hard work that they do.
Okay, guys, we'll keep it moving. Hey, like I said, we've been on here nearly 3 hours. It's been entertaining. Like, it's not fault. This has been one of the best podcasts I've been a part of. And we're only in part 1. We're gonna do you guys feel welcome to come next week. We're gonna do like a tier list. I'm not sure if you've seen that, but we'll do each player and do a tier list. So come and for that as well. Sorry, Fanatics. I'll get you on this one. I know. But 20 to 30, the Eels. This was like the last chance I felt, and then we didn't win this. It was I felt personally that it was game over. But Sean came back in for this one. I think Tamaide either got dropped or it was like
he did.
Yep, he got dropped. They score early. Tungle with Lussick. Joe Lussick went over. Then we score with Roger, and then it's RC, Blaze, and Gutherson, and just 2 late tries at the end. And yes, so just Lea Taula was there, Graham Tolfa, SJ and Shaw, CHT. Lussick starts with Egan off the bench. Licker was in there as well, and we haven't yet seen Dimitri, but Dimitri was 18th man, so we're probably going to see Dimitri come in soon. Fanatics, man, what did you make of this game? It was kind of an important game to go on a run, but what's your thoughts there?
It's another one of those games where another important game where we needed to win, and it was I think at half time we're down 18-4 for my memory, 18-4 at half.
Yep. Fanatics, you just cut out a little bit there, brother. You're back now.
Yep. Okay.
There we go.
Yep. Yeah, I'm back. All right. No worries. Yeah, sorry about that. So as I was saying, we were down 18-4 at the break, and I think at half time it was. I think the way that first half pretty much summed up how we've been going throughout the whole season. I think that's what I got out of that first half, and we did score some late tries at the end there in the second half, and then just not good enough in the end to come away with the win. I thought this was the game where we really need to get the result. Because if we didn't win this game, I think that was it. I think that was completely the window was completely shut if we lost this game, and we did. So this game pretty much summed it up for me. And I know Webby came out in post game afterwards and said some fighting words like we're not giving up. We still believe in the season, and he was harping on about how he thought the season was not over quite yet. So I don't know. That's one way of summing
Kevy Walters.
Game was,
Not Kevy. We're gonna make the top 8.
Kevy Walters. Kevy Walters. So Webby pretty much said exactly what Kevy Walters at the back end of this season. So
poor fella. He got slammed by that. I'm just gonna shout out to Kevy Walters. Poor fella, like that frickin' guy, that journalist just took the piss out of him. I actually thought it was really disrespectful. I was like, that is so rude, man. Like you don't see that. Anyway, take it on the chin, Kevy. Take it on the chin. You're all goods, brother.
We understand, mate. We had a tough year too.
Hard out. Poor guy.
This was kind of, for me, I'm just gonna be devil's advocate, but it was kind of like the Sean's last ride. They dropped to my there. Yep. Sean was gonna think, and this is where I fought with people. I fought with people they know who they are, but it got me into this battle with Sean versus Tamaide, and it just put a really bad negative spin on what should not be competing with each other. But it's like, I think it goes back to what we talked about, making changes when something went well and then you change it again, and then the output or the impact of that is a negative one. And I'm not blaming Sean on everything, but it just felt as though like we needed to keep when we needed momentum to keep going. Sean coming back into the side just changed things a little bit. It stopped it a bit, and not and people have taken that wrong, is that I feel like I'm disrespecting Sean. I'm not at all. I'm just saying that this is what we go back to that thing about Webby maybe listening to the fans, or Webby he's got to put guys in to blah blah blah. But just again, this is just a really bad performance. Anyone else want to speak on this one?
Yeah, like I was fortunate to be at that game, and it was sitting at the south stand, quite close to the game. And I think one thing I touched on, and we did our review of the game on Warriors Fan TV, was just kind of the body language that I would have expected in such a desperate game. I thought it would have been different. There was a lot of moments, and I don't know if you were able to see it on TV, but there were some times where the boys getting like not pushed back, but like typical on the ground, and some of those Eels boys. I remember often go like giving it to some of the boys like in their face, like yelling at them. They were just taking it, and I'm like, not to say that you don't need to get up and be aggressive and all this, but it just kind of felt like, I don't know, a desperate team would have just reacted differently. Like, yeah, I see you. It wasn't any of that. It was just kind of like, oh, get up, play the ball kind of energy. I think for me, that was kind of what I saw, was just this lack of body language, feeling like, our season's on the line. We got to do everything we can for it. Just felt like we're here, we'll compete where we can, and we'll see what happens type thing. That's how I felt, watching the game.
Yeah, agreed, bro. Agreed. It's mixing and matching in that, and then obviously, it just had a feeling that every time that we chucked Shawnee in until the last game of the season, it was kind of like, I don't know, it just the effort levels kind of dropped a little bit, and just as a fan, like I could feel it. I feel like other people felt it. I felt like the energy was always up when Tamati Martin was in that 7 role, and I don't know whether it was just the way he played football and that, but this was a poor one. This was definitely a poor one.
Yep. Okay, let's keep it moving. If there's ever a last chance, this was probably it.
last chances.
Maybe, this is like Webby. Surely he didn't say it after this press conference. But you never know. This was a tight battle. Kafusi went over Farnworth again. Just Farnworth, you see his name popping up every time. He's that good. But we fought again, and we proved
scored
ourselves.
More tries.
Kossi went over. Catewell went over just after half time. Then Leatoa. Then the Leatoa missed that one of them as well. So we really got in a really hot spot. Remember that second half?
We did.
We were flying. Dimitric went over in his comeback game. And Barnett. Chanel. Poor guy. Again, just that theme of Chanel. We didn't really address, I think, probably the goal kicking enough. If we get one of those, it's a different story. But I'm not blaming him again. That goes back to your whole, your system. Like I said, next year they're going to be very serious about who they're picking in their squad, because goal kicking. We realize now how important goal kicking has been. So then Dylan Walker, that sin bin, remember that. Just quickly, team list: Chanel at the back, Leatoa, Roger in the centres.
Gossi came back.
What happened to Sean? Did he get injured again? I can't remember.
Nah, Sean. I think Sean said I reckon Sean pulled out. He got injured before this one, because I remember going to this going like, sweet, last time I get to see Shawnee at Suncorp, and Shawnee wasn't there, so shout out.
Wasn't that a last minute change? Because wasn't he named in that? He named in that game?
He was named Tuesday, and he pulled out. Yeah, it was a last minute change.
It was a last minute change. Yeah,
but being that, like, man, the game was so up and down and frantic, and that defensively we were fairly off, and it was probably the first time since Tamati Martin at 7 that defensively were that far off. But like Ali stepped up. Like he was unreal. And like even with like Chanel not getting those big kicks in the high pressure moments, he still was like 4 from 6 from that game too. Like
he was,
he had a positive night until the pressure started to set in, and that's where it all fell apart. But it's we scored more tries and lost. Yeah, disappointing.
So there are a few games like that this season, eh? We scored more tries and still lost the game.
Yep.
I think Taula went off because Kossi knocked him out. Did Leo have to?
Yeah, that was the knee to the head. Yeah,
so
right in front of us.
Man. It was so worrying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh.
We're the unluckiest team in the comp, bro. I said this to start the season, and I'll continue to say it. We are the unluckiest team in the comp.
Yeah. It was.
We are.
Yeah. Because I saw some, I know he knocked it on, and then I saw him on the go. I was like, how is he on the knock on? And I see Kossi like, yeah, and then he used his knee like
he knocks him out.
But yeah,
Sif was good in this one.
These golden point situations, and I go back to like it wasn't the I don't blame against PhD. I don't blame I just think that we've really addressed how to best do that, and that's going to be a big thing next year too. Like with Twiney and Metcalf, like I think Metcalf would be the natural guy, but actually setting them up. You remember all the setups just felt off. Like no one could. I felt sometimes they pitched it too far right or too far left, and it kind of felt like CHT didn't get a good wind up to a lot of his kicks. Like it just felt like the actual setup of the actual golden points. Like it's something we need to really work on.
Well, CHT was probably suffering from traumatic. Probably traumatized the poor guy. But that's the one where what's his name, Sean O'Sullivan slotted that.
The 40-meter one.
That was stunning. I never go, I never give the opposite team big ups, but when he kicked that, I was just like, God damn, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
That was a fantastic kick.
Yeah, no, it was. Hey, guys, I'm sorry, I'm getting the call up to wrap it up. Sorry, it's been very long.
Yeah,
but let's just quickly get through these last ones. 24-10. Seagulls. I think that was when Metcalf came back in with Sean.
With Sean, yep.
I think that was just another one. We kind of started hot, and then we had a good patch, and then they just got away from us again. But it was good to see Metcalf back in. Any just quick notes on that one? No. Okay.
Yeah, it was good to see Metcalf back. Yeah,
it was good to see Metcalf. 1834 at home, lost to the Bulldogs. That was pretty poor for SJ's last game. That was the Crichton head high.
The Crichton head high, the Barnett head high.
Yeah, that was when the bunker was just being, that type of thing. But
a couple weeks before, Dylan Walker gets a sin bin for a head high. That wasn't as bad as those two, but anyway, continue on.
And I don't know if you guys.
It was bang on. Yeah.
And I don't know if the commonality for that one is that it was the same ref for both of those games too.
Yeah.
Was it really? I didn't know that. That's so Oh, bro. What? Quickly. Watching the Dolphins Broncos game, I was there live and seeing those two hits get friggin' sin bin in that game, and I was just like, as a Warriors fan, it's so much more frustrating when like we just don't get any of this going our way. So frustrating.
And after that head high by Critter, I swear after that game, oh my God, everything
you just saw everyone.
Everyone was getting pulled up, whether it was around the shoulders, I was just like, oh, this is just.
And then the last one, guys, was the Sharks Warriors, and just great to see Sean.
Man, it was dope.
Get over the line, and Metcalf, and what could have been. I think there's a lot of that. If you had Sean and Metcalf the whole time, I do think that it would have been consistent. We would never seen what Tamati. I think Tamati was great that he showed something different. So I think ultimately, if you had Sean and Metcalf, it would have been like a bit more consistent across the board. But it is what it is. But and then we got 2 points in the bye.
Great win.
Great win there. Okay, sorry guys, I'm bloody wrap it up, but it's been absolutely awesome. I just want to thank Fanatics, Ty and Tans. It's been great having you guys on. Now we're not done. Like I said, come back next week. It's been but appreciate you guys like so much. This has been like the funnest talk that I reckon we should have more of this. Let's be honest. Like let's.
Yeah, it has been good.
And
Even
but
though
like
I can't remember half the games, but
yeah, it's all good.
no, because I was looking at the comments and I'm like, oh, that's right. Oh, yep, that's right. Because I watched too much footy, I think. Gosh,
Yeah,
gotta-
Season to forget.
We all did. We all did.
I do want to acknowledge though, like there was probably 2 traumatic parts of our season, but there was a lot more better than I remember too. So it was actually good to go through.
Yeah.
And like, there were some good moments, even though
Yeah.
felt like there wasn't.
Yeah,
I think
no,
like
there was-
lastly to end it all, sorry, bro. Like lastly, like statistically, I think like I was running through it. I think there's only been 3 games that we've ever been beaten out, like with run meters, with like all the big like key stats. And it's just the finishing and obviously our defensive issues that we had this season. But if we were a lot better defensively, maybe could have been in it for a winner. And even with all those issues, I think like we could still agree, like we had that Raiders one go our way, we had that Dogs one go our way, we had that Dolphins one go our way. We'd probably be in the 8 right now, and we'd be looking at like how did we do that? So the fixes can be just as quick, and like if we get on the right track and Tomato Martin and Fisher Harris and all that, if everyone just lifts our standards, like I'm sure we can fight for the 8 again. I don't know about top 4 yet, but I'm sure we can fight for the 8 again.
Oh, I 100%. But I think next year, I'm feeling good about next year. Another preseason under their belts, working on those combinations. Especially with new halves in there as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited for next season.
Yep. No, sorry, mate. It's been absolutely awesome, and we'll get into that. Like I said, come back next week. If you guys want to, you're always welcome. We're gonna do that tier list thing. We're gonna break down each player's year. Thanks again, Fanatics, Ty, Warriors Fan TV. Appreciate you guys, everyone in the chat. No, it's really been awesome.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Ash's show tomorrow night. Coming for that. And Ash, just quickly watch alongs. We're gonna do some this week. I think you're gonna do Yep.
We're looking to probably the Saturday night game, if not the Friday night game. So keep an eye on Instagram or socials, or even if you're on YouTube, guys, keep an eye out for us posting up that live stream. So we're just trying to nail down which game, but we'll get that done by mid to late on this week. So get excited. Finals time.
Yeah, man. Yep. Who's playing? Is it Storm and Roosters? No, Storm and Sharks. Penrith and Roosters.
Storm and Sharks. Penrith Roosters are the big ones, yeah.
Penrith and Roosters. Yeah. Penrith Roosters. That'll be a good one.
Okay, everyone. We'll catch you guys later. Stay safe. Up the wires as always, and peace out. Thanks, everyone. See you.
Up the wires. Let's go.
Yeah.
Up the wires.
Warriors all day, baby.